Alex Stone has details.
It would be a crime here in California to make a 911 call to harass or violate the rights of a person based on their race, religion, or gender. There have been cases in recent months where callers allegedly dialed 911 on people because they were black and wanted them arrested. The bill, which has passed the Senate and Assembly in California, now needs Governor Gavin Newsom's signature. It's already illegal to make a false police report, but the law does not currently address discrimination when reporting a crime.
I'm Tom Rivers, ABC News.
It's official. The sale of the summer has arrived. Dell's Labor Day sale is happening right now with rare deals like savings of up to $300 on some of the latest and most innovative XPS and Alienware PCs yet with Intel Core processors. Plus, save on a curated selection of premium tech like Samsung TVs. All with complimentary shipping. Call 800-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/Labor Day. Again, call 800-BUY-DELL to take advantage of unprecedented Labor Day tech deals.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your car insurance with Right Track, which rewards you for safe driving.
As the world's most careful driver, that's perfect. Now applying 2 pounds of force for acceleration.
You really
turning in 0.3 miles and begin a deceleration.
With Liberty Mutual's Right Track, you could earn up to 30% savings based on how you drive. Sign up at libertymutual.com/righttrack.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Discount on participating vehicles. Base coverages only. Availability varies.
I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson with a news update on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Maine State Police are asking for your help tracking down a missing mother and daughter. They say 32-year-old Ashley Miller was last seen yesterday at noon on Tunk Lake Road in Sullivan. That's down east, not far from Mount Desert Island. Police say Miller had several medical conditions and her family is concerned for her and her 4-year-old daughter's safety. Police say Ashley is not in trouble, but they want to make sure they are both safe and that a statewide search is underway. Seafood industry in Maine could see a $20 million boost by the end of next month, according to Maine Public. The funds will be made available under the Federal CARES Act. Fishing license holders and also shellfish growers who qualify will get the same payment regardless of the size of the business. The Marine Resources Commissioner says state and federal officials are nearing a final agreement, and the money will go straight to individual seafood businesses in Maine. Maine CDC says it's reporting more outbreaks at colleges. They include Maine Maritime Academy and University of New England. Director of the CDC says there have been at least 3 confirmed cases at both institutions. Coronavirus cases have also been reported at the University of Maine, also University of Southern Maine, and University of Maine Law School. CDC is now warning people to avoid putting masks on your pets. Reports say pets are at low risk for contracting the coronavirus. CDC suggests keeping pets away from people who aren't in their home and, of course, from anyone who may be sick. In rare instances, there have been cases of dogs contracting coronavirus. Maine CDC is warning about a hepatitis A case at a Sacco Pizza restaurant. CDC says an employee who handled food at the Sacco House of Pizza was infected with hepatitis A. Maine CDC says restaurant customers and employees may be at risk for hepatitis A infection. They say anyone who worked out or ate food from the restaurant between August 18th and 21st should get a hepatitis A vaccine right away. Brunswick residents are no longer allowed to put glass containers in their recycling bins. Instead, they're being asked to put those containers with their regular household trash. Brunswick says this change doesn't impact returnable glass beverage containers that, under the Maine bottle bill, should still be brought to the redemption centers. Central Maine Power is now offering incentives for installing electric vehicle charging stations. The company's new program offers up to $4,000 toward the cost of installing faster Level 2 charging stations. High school sports in Maine could be delayed even longer. The Maine Principals Association voted last week on recommendations to allow all fall sports. Those recommendations include practice starting on September 8th, 1 week from today, with games starting as early as the 18th. CBS 13 asked DHHS about whether it would approve those recommendations. The commissioner says DHHS has concerns about that timetable. An old bridge on the Midcoast is causing some concerns about safety. This week, engineers are inspecting a bridge that connects Brunswick and Topsham. The Maine Department of Transportation says the bridge is in poor shape and plans to replace it with a new, nearly $20 million bridge. The Frank J. Wood Bridge was built in 1931. Sports, the Red Sox lose to the Braves. Final score 10-3. They play the Braves tonight at 7:30. NBA playoffs, the Celtics beat the Raptors 102-99. The Celtics have now won 6 straight playoff games. Boston leads the semifinals 2-0. Game 3 is tomorrow at 6:30. I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Maine Voter Information Hotline. Can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about those ads running for Susan Collins, you know, the ones attacking Sarah Gideon.
Yes, ma'am. We've been getting a lot of calls about those.
Huh. Well, are they true? Like what they say about Sarah Gideon and taxes?
Well, it says here newspapers have been speaking out about those. The Portland Press-Herald said the ads were largely out of context, and the Bangor Daily News said the ad misleads on Gideon's record of paying taxes.
Interesting. But is it true that Gideon raised taxes in Augusta?
No, ma'am. Says here Sarah Gideon helped lower taxes for the middle class, including sponsoring the first direct property tax relief bill to pass in many years.
I told Bert I remembered that. I should get him to call you.
I'll leave that to you, ma'am. We are pretty busy these days.
I can only imagine. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sarah Gideon from Maine.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
Take it to Moody's.
You wanna get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. Mostly cloudy today with a few afternoon showers possible. Another cool day with highs mainly in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Tonight we'll keep the risk of scattered showers going, lows in the lower 60s. Tomorrow sunshine returns and it's much warmer with highs in the low 80s. We'll keep the warm trend going into Friday with sunshine and temperatures in the mid 80s.
All right, Matt, thank you. Clouds, some fog around still. We've got 54 in Skowhegan, 54 in Waterville, 57 degrees and cloudy skies here. Right now in Augusta, you are up to date from Maine's Heritage Station, Legacy 1160 WSKW.
In a state where common sense is a lost art, he's basically your father.
Didn't crawl out from under no rocks. We didn't have no tails. We didn't come from monkeys. You wait till you stick pink on me.
It's the Mike Violet Show on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Good morning. Welcome in 6:11. The Mike Violet Show is officially in progress for this middle of the weekday that we call Wednesday. No humps around here. It's September 2nd, 2020. The usual suspects on the show. It's a day of regularity. The regulars are all here. My once and now current partner, Ken Altshuler. It's the Ken and Mike Hour, 7 until 8 o'clock. And at 8 o'clock, that leads in to Agree to Disagree. The boys are back on the radio. Phil Harriman and Ethan Strimling, our political analysts. Ethan from the left, always wrong. Phil from the right, always right. The boys here at 8:08 this morning. And an emergency appearance by Travis Lesargic. I know it's not Friday, but obviously with the MPA, with the governor, with the education commissioner, with the DHHS commissioner, all chiming in yesterday on high school sports, Travis will try and tell us just what in the wide, wide world of sports happened yesterday during that that press conference between those two that I mentioned, Commissioner Lambrou, Commissioner Macon, and Dr. Shaw from the CDC. As that was going on, all of the letters that have been sent by the states back to the MPA were being released. And man, what a day it was yesterday. In many ways, a cluster F, but we will get to all of that coming up. There's a ton of things to do. So, without further ado, let's get cracking.
Hashtag what? They didn't really say that, did they?
Even while I was on vacation, I woke up in the middle of the night at 3:30 in the morning, just concerned about climate change.
It's hashtags and hot takes on the Mike Violet Show on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
All righty, guess what item number one is? Yeah, the MPA, state government, the Mills administration, DHHS, Department of Education, all punting a ball back and forth. It's like a tennis match with a constant volley. And I will read to you from Travis Lesargic's story that is the big story in not just the Sentinel and KJ, but also in the Sun Journal and the Press Herald this morning, that state officials countered the Maine Principals Association's plans for fall sports yesterday in a strongly worded letter that also urged the organization to delay the season. It's September 2nd, by the way, until safety guidelines can be further reviewed. The letter was signed by Commissioner of Education Pender Macon and Commissioner of the Department of Health and Human Services Jean Lambrou, and cited several instances in which the MPA failed to follow the state's COVID-19 safety guidelines while developing its plan for the return of sports. State officials also wrote that their concerns go beyond high school athletics because of what they say are the potential risk to communities. High school sports, they wrote, are unlike professional organizations like the NBA and the NHL, which resume play this summer because they could operate literally in a bubble almost within host cities. I could go on and continue reading here Travis's story, and perhaps I will later on. But the astounding lack of leadership by everyone involved here except the MPA is truly, I guess, in Maine, with this governor and with these people, Pender Macon and Jean Lambrou running the show, I guess it comes down to expected, reliable behavior. Does any of this shock me? Absolutely not. I am completely having my expectations met by the Mills administration. I know what to expect from them, and they give me what I expect all of the time. An astonishing lack of leadership. Compare and contrast, and we have to do it with what is going on in New Hampshire, which is fall sports across the board, and the leadership from Chris Sununu back in July. On July 3rd, when Governor Sununu said, yes, we're going ahead with fall sports. So, MPA Director Mike Burnham responded to the state's letter saying, quote, we appreciate their suggestions and will continue to work cooperatively with those state agencies, end of quote. Now, concerns were also, specifically, this was all directed at football. Concerns were also directed and raised with volleyball, the only fall sport played inside, and football, leaving those sports in jeopardy. Soccer, meanwhile, was moved from high to medium risk, leaving open the possibility that it might be able to be played in some capacity this fall. But the whole thing is a complete mess. It's been completely mishandled by the Mills administration, like so many things with the coronavirus and COVID-19. And obviously, this has left a lot of high school coaches, a lot of high school athletes, a lot of high school parents very upset, and they're very emotional. Friend of the show, Coney High School coach B.L. Lippert, who has been on our program many times, in the paper this morning said that he thought he was through with the difficult conversations that he and his players have been having. He was quoted as saying, I thought last year addressing them after we lost, going for 2 in an overtime playoff game would be the hardest conversation I was going to have with them. Well, that's going to be topped by the one that's going to take place. He called the decision a massive blow, and that is not understating things at all. Also, if you follow Bonnie Eagle coach Kevin Cooper on Twitter, if you don't, you should be. He had a terrific response to this. I will get into that a little bit more at length coming up in the sound segment, which basically is going to be me telling you what people are saying about this. That'll be after the 6:30 news. All right, let's move on. Obviously, a lot of the show today, even with Ken, is going to be the MPA, and we'll get into it later with Phil and Ethan as well. But Travis Lesargic will be here by phone at 8:38 to try to help us out with this as well. Let's move on to the president in Kenosha yesterday. The president going to Kenosha, standing in the epicenter, that is, of the latest eruption of racial injustice yesterday, and came down squarely on the side of law enforcement. Good. Blaming domestic terror. Good. For the violence in Kenosha, and making no nod to the underlying cause of anger and protest, the shooting of yet another black man. This is an AP story by the police. Good. Because as more comes out about this, well, you know, to quote Joe Biden, The police did the right thing. It's as simple as that. Anyway, the president yesterday, well, he mentioned the Democrats in Kenosha.
All of these problems are Democrat cities. We don't want to say it, but it is. The top 10 are Democrat. Then you go into the top 25 and take a look at that. It's the same thing.
Yeah. All Democrat cesspools. They're all crap holes. Did you see how this looked? It looked like a freaking war zone where Trump was yesterday. And it's not surprising that the mainstream media, in a lot of cases, cut away from all of it while it was going on. Oh, Attorney General Bill Barr was there too.
Once again, we saw the hijacking of a protest by a hardcore group of radicals who were carrying out, planning a coordinated, violent attack on law enforcement, on public property, and on private property.
Hear, hear, Mr. Attorney General, and I'm absolutely delighted that President Trump did not cave on this and continued with his plans to go to Kenosha and point out all of this, praise law enforcement, and do what a president should do here. And for those people, and I'm looking at you, Joe Biden, who say that he was fanning the flames, nah, Trump didn't fan the flames yesterday. Trump did what a president should do. And obviously, more on this with Ken and with Phil and Ethan coming up as well. Well, in Massachusetts, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, he's the first Kennedy to lose a race for Congress ever. Representative Joe Kennedy III suffering a stinging bitter defeat, losing to that dope Senator Edward Markey in the primary yesterday. Markey, who's 74 years old, has been in Congress for over 40 years as a congressman and a senator, and who's done nothing in that entire time, opened with a large lead when the early returns came in yesterday in Massachusetts in the primary, and by 10 o'clock, it was all over. Young Joe made the call.
A few moments ago, I called Senator Markey to congratulate him and to pledge my support to him and his campaign in the months ahead.
Now, obviously, when you're talking about Markey and Kennedy, it is 6 of one and half a dozen of another. There's no difference in them politically whatsoever. One's frick, one's frack. It's not going to make a difference at all. But I got to tell you, the entitled Kennedy family, to see one of them lose like this and be the first one ever warms my cold, cold heart. It really does. Because ideologically, Markey and Kennedy are two peas in a pod. They're in the same pod. These guys could serve together, sitting beside each other for the next 6 years in the Senate. They would have identical voting records, so it doesn't matter. It's Massachusetts. You know, I don't even know the Republican who is running against Markey now. I know he's been advertising on the Howie Carr Show. I couldn't even begin to tell you his name. But it warms the cockles of my cold, cold heart to see a Kennedy, this band of Kennedys, lose. Of course, Joe Kennedy is the grandson of Bobby Kennedy and the son of Joe Kennedy. And of course, he's not really a real... I can't say it. If I say that, somebody's going to complain. I don't want to be called into the boss's office today. Anyway, Markey did speak after the numbers came out.
The progressive movement knows how to fight. We will not surrender.
Markey's made an interesting transformation from a do-nothing career politician to a do-nothing hanger-on of AOC. He's embraced the curriculum, if you will, of AOC, the platform of the darling of the far, 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 far left. And at 74 years old, he's right there with AOC now. So Markey wins in Massachusetts. The only good news is that a Kennedy took it on the chin hard. And that I can't love enough. Okay, let's go to sports. Sports that wasn't canceled, and we wish it was. The Boston Red Sox last night gave up one, not two, but 3 home runs to Marcell Ozuna. He drove in 6, and the Braves rolled to a 10-3 win over the Boston Red Sox. The Braves and the Red Sox will play again tonight at 7:30. Red Sox admitting yesterday that injured outfielder Andrew Benintendi might not return this year with his strained rib cage. What does it matter? Take the rest of the year off, Andrew. We won't miss you, that's for sure. And the Celtics last night. Game 2 of the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals, and the Celts come up big. Marcus Smart, 16 of his 19 in the fourth quarter. The Celts put the hammer down with a 29-9 run, and they put away the Toronto Raptors and win it by a final of 102-99. Jason Tatum led everybody with 34 points in this one. Smart made 5 threes, and Kemba Walker scored 11 of the Celtics' final 16 points in this one. And the Celts now up 2-0 with Game 3 in the bubble down in Orlando, set for Thursday night at 6:30. And that, friends, is a frantic hashtag and hot takes for this morning. It's that middle of the weekday that we call Wednesday. There are no humps around here. You know the drill. We do this every Monday through Friday without fail, right after the 6 o'clock news.
Road to the White House. Joe Biden hitting back against assertions by the president that Biden is controlled by left-wing extremists hiding in the dark shadows.
He just flat lies about virtually everything. Dark forces behind me, as I said yesterday. Do I look like the guy who is, in fact, going to, this socialist, left-wing guy who is going to bring hatred to, I mean, come on.
Biden, in an interview with ABC News station WTVD, Raleigh, North Carolina, the president made his trip to Kenosha, Wisconsin, where police put 7 bullets into the back of Jacob Blake, deflecting when asked,
Do you believe systemic racism is a problem in this country?
Well, you just keep getting back to the opposite subject. We should talk about the kind of violence that we've seen in Portland and here.
The president's Homeland Security Department sent a warning letter to Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler that if nightly violence erupting out of racial justice demonstrations doesn't end, the federal government will be left with little choice. Richard Cantu, ABC News.
I want to tell you about all of the incredible items you can find at Townline Antiques, but there's no substitute for seeing them in person and reliving those wonderful memories for yourself. Now's the perfect time to shop through their great selection of furniture, artwork, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, books, glassware, home decor, and so much more. Take home something to decorate a room with style. Add to your collection or share wonderful memories of your past with family and friends. Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5. Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassaboro Town Line.
Hi, everyone. This is State Senator Brad Farron. As we continue to face new challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I want to remind you how important it is that we continue to fight against our state's opioid epidemic as well. For many people struggling with substance use disorders, increased stress, anxiety, and isolation has the potential to alter the course of their recovery. A simple step we can take to remain vigilant during this time is learning the warning signs of substance misuse so we can hopefully prevent a problem before it's too late. The RX Abuse Leadership Initiative of Maine, or RALLY, has tools available online so that we can all work to combat the opioid crisis from home. Visit rally-maine.org to take an interactive virtual tour that will teach you the hidden red flags of substance misuse so you might know what to look for if you think a loved one may be struggling. Again, that's rali-me.org. Thank you and stay safe.
Paid for by the RX Abuse Leadership Initiative.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
Want to know how you can show off your style and save on a great new set of frames with Kennebec Eye Care in Waterville? When you like their Facebook page, facebook.com/Kennebec Eye Care, and post a photo of yourself in your favorite mask and your current glasses, you'll receive $25 off your next set of designer frames. Share your photo and have fun viewing others while you save at the same time. Again, that's facebook.com/Kennebec Eye Care. Some restrictions to apply. Contact Kennebec Eye Care for details. Kennebec Eye Care, your sight specialist at 216 Main Street in Waterville.
6:29. It's that middle of the weekday that we call Wednesday around here. Mike Violet on the Mike Violet Show. The show brought to you by Kennebec Electric and Lighting. Contact them for all your electric and lighting servicing needs, including expert installations and repairs. 861-7028. Online, KennebecElectric.com. Just time to tell you what we got here today. Ken and Mike Hour, 7 to 8. Phil and Ethan agree to disagree. The boys are back on the radio. Politically analyzing politically everything under the sun. And we have a lot to get to with them, with Ken. Coming up next, though, the sound segment, much of which will be me reading something that somebody I know sent to me yesterday about high school sports and playing high school sports and its importance. I will read that to you coming up after the 6:30 news, which is coming up right now. I'm Mike Violet on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson with a news update on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Maine State Police are asking for your help tracking down a missing mother and daughter. They say 32-year-old Ashley Miller was last seen yesterday at noon on Tunk Lake Road in Sullivan. That's down east, not far from Mount Desert Island. Police say Miller had several medical conditions and her family is concerned for her and her 4-year-old daughter's safety. Police say Ashley is not in trouble, but they want to make sure they are both safe and that a statewide search is underway. Seafood industry in Maine could see a $20 million boost by the end of next month, according to Maine Public. The funds will be made available under the Federal CARES Act. Fishing license holders and also shellfish growers who qualify will get the same payment regardless of the size of the business. The Marine Resources Commissioner says that state and federal officials are nearing a final agreement, and the money will go straight to individual seafood businesses in Maine. Maine CDC says it's reporting more outbreaks at colleges. They include Maine Maritime Academy and University of New England. Director of the CDC says there have been at least 3 confirmed cases of both institutions. Coronavirus cases have also been reported at the University of Maine, also University of Southern Maine, and University of Maine Law School. CDC is now warning people to avoid putting masks on your pets. Reports say pets are at low risk for contracting the coronavirus. CDC suggests keeping pets away from people who aren't in their home and, of course, from anyone who may be sick. In rare instances, there have been cases of dogs contracting coronavirus. Maine CDC is warning about a hepatitis A case at a Sacco Pizza restaurant. CDC says an employee who handled food at the Sacco House of Pizza was infected with hepatitis A. Maine CDC says restaurant customers and employees may be at risk for hepatitis A infection. They say anyone who worked out or ate food from the restaurant between August 18th and 21st should get a hepatitis A vaccine right away. Brunswick residents are no longer allowed to put glass containers in their recycling bins. Instead, they're being asked to put those containers with their regular household trash. Brunswick says this change doesn't impact returnable glass beverage containers that, under the Maine bottle bill, should still be brought to the redemption centers. Central Maine Power is now offering incentives for installing electric vehicle charging stations. The company's new program offers up to $4,000 toward the cost of installing faster Level 2 charging stations. High school sports in Maine could be delayed even longer. The Maine Principals Association voted last week on recommendations to allow all fall sports. Those recommendations include practice starting on September 8th, 1 week from today, with games starting as early as the 18th. CBS 13 asked DHHS about whether it would approve those recommendations. The commissioner says DHHS has concerns about that timetable. An old bridge on the mid-coast is causing some concerns about safety. This week, engineers are inspecting a bridge that connects Brunswick and Topsham. The Maine Department of Transportation says the bridge is in poor shape and plans to replace it with a new, nearly $20 million bridge. The Frank J. Wood Bridge was built in 1931. Sports, the Red Sox lose to the Braves. Final score 10-3. They play the Braves tonight at 7:30. NBA playoffs, the Celtics beat the Raptors 102-99. The Celtics have now won 6 straight playoff games. Boston leads the semifinals 2-0. Game 3 is tomorrow at 6:30. I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Maine Voter Information Hotline. Can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about those ads running for Susan Collins, you know, the ones attacking Sarah Gideon.
Yes, ma'am. We've been getting a lot of calls about those.
Huh. Well, are they true? Like what they say about Sarah Gideon and taxes?
Well, it says here newspapers have been speaking out about those. The Portland Press-Herald said the ads were largely out of context, and the Bangor Daily News said the ad misleads on Gideon's record of paying taxes.
Interesting. But is it true that Gideon raised taxes in Augusta?
No, ma'am. Says here Sarah Gideon helped lower taxes for the middle class, including sponsoring the first direct property tax relief bill to pass in many years.
I told Bert I remembered that. I should get him to call you.
I'll leave that to you, ma'am. We are pretty busy these days.
I can only imagine. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sarah Gideon from Maine.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
Take it to Moody's.
You wanna get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust, and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. Mostly cloudy today with a few afternoon showers possible. Another cool day with highs mainly in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Tonight we'll keep the risk of scattered showers going, lows in the lower 60s. Tomorrow sunshine returns and it's much warmer with highs in the low 80s. We'll keep the warm trend going into Friday with sunshine and temperatures in the mid 80s.
Thank you, Matt. Clouds. We have 54 in Skowhegan, 57 in Augusta, 57 in Waterville, 58 degrees in Augusta. You're up to date from Maine's Heritage Station, Legacy 1160, WSKW.
His mediocre high school academic achievements have prepared him nicely for a career in radio.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
It's the Mike Violet Show on Legacy 1160, WSKW.
It's 6:36. Good morning. I'm Mike Violet. This is the Mike Violet Show. It's brought to you by Kennebec Electric and Lighting, 861-7028 online, KennebecElectric.com. You can find us online, Legacy1160.com. Our live audio and video powered by the Harry J. Smith Company, Sanger Avenue in Waterville. And our Facebook live feed. Hello, Facebookers. Brought to you by Moody's Collision Center. The usual suspects today, the Ken and Mike Hour, 7 to 8. Agree to disagree. The boys are back. Phil Harriman, Ethan Strimling. You can read them in the Bangor Daily News every week. See them on News Center Maine all the time. They are slowly but surely becoming the kings of all media. And Ethan Strimling and Phil Harriman will analyze things from the political realm coming up at 8:08 this morning. Yesterday, in the aftermath of the decision by the state, Governor Mills, Her Royal Highness, is there a more annoying public servant in Maine than Jean Lambrew? The voice, it's like fingers on a chalkboard to me. And we'll hear from her just so you can experience it as well later on. But in the aftermath of the 2 o'clock CDC hearing with Dr. Shaw, Jean Lambrew, Pender Macon, the commissioner of the Department of Education, and the release of the rebuttal, if you will, from the MPA's decision last week to go ahead with high school sports. It was a wild day. Wild day. And try, as we might, to make some sense out of it, Travis Lesargic with a special emergency appearance here coming up at 8:38. So a friend of mine sent me this as I was trading tweets, Facebook posts, text messages, Facebook messages with people. I got this. Not my words. Friend wrote this, sent it to me. And I believe this person, she has channeled all of our thoughts, whether we're a high school athlete, whether we're their mother and father, whether we are their family, whether we're friends, they're friends of theirs, or whether we're just a fan of high school sports. That's me. I broadcast them, but I'm a fan. I love them. She wrote this, quote, OMG, oh my God, it's just sports, band, drama, etc. Etc.? ? You'll be fine without it. It's for the greater good. What about the greater good of our children? For some, it's the only place they fit in. For some, it's also realizing you have a passion for something. For some, it's experiencing confidence for the first time because you're good at something. For some, it's the only place they feel accepted. For some, it's the hopes of furthering their education with possible scholarships. For some, it's another 2 to 3 hours away from a bad home life. For some, it's the camaraderie and team building that is so special to them. For some, it's belonging and feeling included, even if they're not particularly good at it. For some, it's the difference between passing and failing in school. For some, it's the difference between making bad choices that can affect them the rest of their lives or staying on the straight and narrow. For some, it's the mental clarity and a natural dopamine. Is that how you say it? Dopamin, that they get from a close game. For some, it's the only outlet they have. So yeah, it is just sports, band, drama, etc. And it's so much more to so many kids. The adults in the room at the MPA understood that. The adults in the room at the Blaine House and at the State House, they don't understand that. Is there, I asked this yesterday, is there not one Democrat in this state who has a son who plays football or a daughter who plays soccer or field hockey or volleyball that will come out and condemn this governor for her heavy-handed, unfair tactics? Is there not one Democrat in this state who recognizes how unfair this is to kids, who will come out and condemn this governor or her heavy-handed, unfair tactics, or those used by Jean Lambrou and Pender Macon? As we sit here admiringly looking at New Hampshire with jealousy in our hearts once again, because once again, New Hampshire has done what we didn't. They're underway. Kids are going to practice today, not in Maine. So I will read you some of the other things that people have said. These are all comments on my Facebook post yesterday. In some cases, I'll use names. In some cases, I won't. My Facebook page is a public page. I am a registered Democrat. I think the kids should play with lots of testing. There are risks when kids aren't engaged in sports, too. Another one said, wait until these idiots in Augusta take away basketball, because my fear is that General Mills and her band of idiots will say we can't be together inside again until Lord knows when. Another commented, at least when the curve of suicides, drug abuse, highway deaths, and criminal mischief among high school kids in Maine rises exponentially in the next 6 to 12 months, and it will, you'll know who it's on. Another said, I am very concerned about the behaviors our kids will engage without football. The elephant in the room, a lot of 15 to 18-year-old boys don't like school. They don't like sitting down. They don't like taking notes, and they don't like taking tests. Football is the greatest carrot a teacher could ever have. I know of a dozen teachers or so who use it for players throughout the year to influence their behavior. Without that, the list of items you just provided scares me tremendously. Let me keep going here. Let's see. I hope every person that voted for Mills feels the pain. They deserve it. It will be interesting what happens come election time. And elections do have consequences. I am that one Democrat, someone wrote, that doesn't vote along party lines. And I will make the appropriate vote here. I'm going to have one pissed off kid, one woman wrote. She's already missed her freshman season of softball. I don't understand the logic behind their decisions. Talk to any parent that had kids participate in sports this summer. You didn't hear of one outbreak. We had 75 teams in town for the state junior Olympic softball tournament. We played every weekend without incidents. One gentleman on my Facebook feed wondered if it was time for the legislature to reconvene. Forget about that. That is not going to happen. Another one wrote, a wise man said, whenever the government is involved, your business is at risk. The state has been ruled by the governor under an immoral, if not illegal, state of emergency for months. Who knew the road to tyranny began with public health? All right, so let's go to the audio tape here. She may be the most annoying public servant right now in Maine. She is DHHS Commissioner Jean Lambrou.
I think that our approach here has been not to say whether or not there can be school sports. It's more when and how. How do we take each activity and identify both where is possible when there's safety guidance to be able to engage and where there are greater risks. And I think what we've been doing is going through with the Maine Principals Association, number one, our underlying state policy, because there are policies not specific to either sports or schools that we want to make sure that they know are applicable. Two is ensuring, and we got the agreement on a call earlier today with the Principals Association, that the school rules apply. As a reminder, these are not just sports taking place in communities, they're taking place on school grounds, in school gyms. So making sure that it's clear that the school rules do apply seems important, and we think we share that agreement. And then third, there's this issue of competition. How do you, in different levels of risk, allow students or sport athletes, as you say, to engage in competition? I think there's still some more discussion and dialogue to be happening on that. This is a challenging topic, not just in the state of Maine, but across the nation. And we're hopeful that working together, we can come to some agreement.
All right, so there's cut one from Commissioner Lambrou. More dialogue. Of course, these are the same people who said that we were going to leave the sports decision up to the MPA. All right, more from Lambrou.
You know, we did suggest to the Maine Principals Association it might make sense to give it a little bit more time as schools are opening, as we try to resolve the concerns that we've given to them. But we're not the only ones. The Maine Superintendents Association, the Maine School Board Association similarly has questions of the sports guidance. So we're hoping with intense work and a little bit more time, we can come to some agreement.
Intense work. Why wasn't the intense work done a long time ago? And would it be such a bad thing to have Janet Mills talk to Chris Sununu? How are you guys able to do this? Or is this the point now? Are we at the point now where Mills, a Democrat, and Sununu, a Republican, can't trade notes on things? I don't know. Here's Commissioner of Education, Pender Macon.
I think our response was to let them know that there were places where there was great alignment and places where they are quite misaligned with the guidelines that CDC and DHHS have put together.
That's basically all Macon had to say about this yesterday. I don't know why New Hampshire can do it and Maine won't. New Hampshire is doing it. Whoops. Sorry about that. And Maine will not. I don't understand that. Oh, you say it's political. Well, guess what? You're right. I know that's shocking to you. Try not to let that make you lose your faith in politicians. Yeah, and a texter just sent me the hepatitis exposure down in Saco. Hepatitis A at the pizza shop down there, the Saco House of Pizza. Anyone who ate at or ordered pizza, whether it was picked up or delivered at the Saco House of Pizza between August 5th and the 21st, encouraged to watch your symptoms and call the doctor if you've got jaundice, stomach pain, tiredness, nausea. Hepatitis A is on the loose down there. Yeah. Thanks for sending me that text and reminding me of that. All right, so just off topic, if you will, one thing here before we end this up. And by the way, the piece that I read earlier, it's posted on my Facebook page, and it's also on the hashtag Let Them Play Fall Sports in Maine page, if you want to see it again. All right, remember John James talked about this week. I mentioned it as well, that Tucker Carlson said that he had some inside info on Chris Cuomo from CNN involving Michael Cohen, the president's former lawyer. Well, he ran the piece last night. Here it is.
Well, you remember Michael Cohen. He was a lawyer in New York. He was once the president's lawyer. A couple of years ago, Michael Cohen was indicted for tax evasion, among other things, and he went to prison. When the topic of Michael Cohen comes up, the one thing everyone who knows Michael Cohen can agree on, the one thing is that he's a sleazeball, not a minor sleazeball, but an epic sleazeball, a Hollywood-level sleazeball. If they ever make Sleazeball the movie, Michael Cohen will play the lead, and he'll be in every sequel, too. He'll have to be. He was born for that role. So it's interesting to note that among Michael Cohen's close personal friends is an anchor on the cable news network, and not just any CNN anchor, but the CNN anchor given to the most overheated possible moral lectures, the first guy on that channel to invoke God himself and the Blessed Mother, if necessary, as he scolds you for not living up to his high ethical standards. That man's name is Christopher Charles Cuomo, son of one governor, brother of another, Yale graduate, weightlifter, deeply good person. And also, we now learn, a buddy of Michael Cohen's. We know this because we have an audio tape of a conversation between the two men. Apparently, there are many tapes like this. But tonight, we're going to play you just a portion of one. Before you listen to this, try to remember what Chris Cuomo sounds like when you watch him on television. You've seen him, admit it. Then compare that version, that memory, the official morally inflated Chris Cuomo, to the guy you hear in this recording. Here you go.
You know, I'm always careful when I talk to media, you know? Right. Do you know how many phone calls I've gotten from people at ABC who say that reporters are calling and lying about things they heard about me to try to get stories about me when I was at ABC? Guys calling and saying, I heard he was the Charlie Rose of ABC, used to invite women to the hotel and open his bathroom. Do I look like the kind of guy who's got to do that?
Sure, why not? But you're
lying.
So
I already
now,
have a good source that says that he forced one woman to have sex. I just want to know if you've ever heard anything like that. There is no woman.
Right.
There is none of that.
So here's the problem.
Women who do work there saying, oh, yeah, you know, some of these men and naming me with other guys, you know, we bumped into each other once in the elevator and he put his hand on my shoulder and he made me really uncomfortable. I mean, what the
It's a problem. And now you.
So I'm careful with the media always.
Right.
I've always told you the media is not your friend.
No.
Whoa, well, there's a lot to unpack here. But the first thing you notice is that Chris Cuomo is agitated. He's mad, really mad. And you know what makes him maddest of all? The suggestion that he's got to act like some old guy, Charlie Rose, to get the ladies, sandbagging women in hotel rooms with an open bathrobe. Do I look like the kind of effing guy who's got to do that? He asked his pal Michael Cohen. Cohen's response, sure, why not? open bathrobes seem normal to Michael Cohen. But Chris Cuomo disagrees. Chris Cuomo doesn't need cheesy tricks like that. Chris Cuomo is on television. Chris Cuomo could bench press your Subaru. Open bathrobes are for losers. Chris Cuomo is not a loser. But you know who is a loser? Big time? All those women who keep accusing Chris Cuomo of sexual harassment. They claim he bothered them in elevators. Now, if women made those claims against you, Chris Cuomo might very well denounce you on his TV show, call for your firing, call for your banishment from decent society. These are women making the charges after all. You must believe women. Women's voices must be heard. Me too and all that. But that is not what Chris Cuomo tells his friend Michael Cohen, not even close. You get the sense as you listen that neither one of these guys is a big feminist. When Chris and Michael get together, they can let their hair down and be themselves. So Chris spares Michael the Me Too lecture. He doesn't say anything about women's voices, nothing flattering anyway. Instead, he says, and we're quoting here, I mean, what the F? In other words, these girls, they're crazy. All of them want a piece of Chris Cuomo. Maybe some of them want to get bench pressed, if you know what I mean. So they're making up these crazy lies, like women do. Hormones, probably. But Michael Cohen is not convinced by this explanation. Even Michael Cohen takes women more seriously than that. Well, it's a problem, Cohen begins to say, but Chris Cuomo cuts him off. When you're talking to Chris Cuomo, you don't actually get to talk much. So unfortunately, we never learn who are all these women who claim they've been sexually harassed by Chris Cuomo. What are their names? Have they received financial settlements from CNN or ABC? Well, we asked those questions yesterday to CNN. We sent them the tape you just heard. We sent it to someone at the PR department called Matt Dornick, as well as to that weird kid who hosts the media show. They didn't respond. Was their reaction the same as Chris Cuomo's? I mean, what the F? We could only guess. Maybe they think women are crazy too. Chris Cuomo hasn't called us either, and you can see why. We work in the media. And if there's one thing that Chris Cuomo hates, it's the media. Though obviously he defends the media night after night on his show, but he doesn't mean it, not at all. As he told his old pal Michael Cohen more than once, I've always told you, the media is not your friend.
Yeah. Wow, is that not solid gold stuff right there? Mr. Man. Not that you and I were ever going to watch Chris Cuomo, but if we made, say, the mistake of watching Chris Cuomo, I mean, I don't even have cable television, so it's literally impossible for me to do. But if we did watch Chris Cuomo, did you actually ever believe a word he ever said or says? Nah. That's beautiful, though. I can't wait to see what, if anything, happens from this. I doubt anything will. I think Cuomo's probably better off to ignore it, and hopefully it'll go away. But I hope Tucker keeps banging the drum here. All right, coming up to 7, it's 6:56. You're listening to the Mike Violet Show, brought to you by Kennebec Electric and Lighting, 861-7028. Online, KennebecElectric.com. The Ken and Mike Hour's next. Ken will join me at 7:08. 8:08, the boys are back. Phil Harriman, Ethan Strimling, agree to disagree on the radio. 8:38, Travis Lesargic with a special emergency appearance to break down the battle between the MPA and the governor. I'm Mike Violet on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
ABC Entertainment News.
I like to move it.
Superstar DJ Eric Murillo, best known for his 1994 hit I Like to Move It, has been found dead at his home in Miami. The 49-year-old's death comes after he was arrested on sexual assault charges last month and was scheduled for a court hearing Friday. He had denied the charges. Police say the death is under investigation, but there were no signs of foul play. The ABC sitcom Blackish isn't expected to return until later this year, but producers will put out a pair of topical episodes early, and both will focus on the upcoming presidential election. The hour-long special will air October 4th, and one of the episodes will be animated. Former Talking Heads frontman David Byrne apologizing for appearing in blackface in a recently resurfaced promotional video from 1984. In a statement on social media, Byrne says he made a major mistake in judgment that showed a lack of real understanding, and he believes he's changed since then. Party on, dude! And Bill and Ted star Keanu Reeves, probably partying today. It's his birthday. He's 56. Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
I want to tell you about the incredible items you can find at Townline Antiques, but there's no match for seeing them in person and reliving those wonderful memories for yourself. Now is the perfect time to shop through their great selection of furniture, artwork, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, books, glassware, home decor, and so much more. Take home a little something to decorate a room with style, add to your collection, or share a wonderful memory of your past with friends and family. Townline Antiques open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
From the Whole Model Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
Oh, beautiful, our heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, make God thy gold refined, till all success be nobleness, and ever again divine. And you know, when I was in school, we used to sing it something like this. Listen here. Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain. But now wait a minute, I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done shed his grace on thee. He gave me crown not good. Yes, he did. Heavy brotherhood from sea to shining sea. You know, I wish I had somebody to help me sing this. America, I love you, America. You see, my God, he done shed his face on thee. You ought to love him for it, because he crowned that good. He told me he would. Every brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I thank you, Lord.
ABC News, I'm Tom Rivers. President Trump touring property damage left behind by the protests in Kenosha following the police shooting of Jacob Blake. ABC's Mona Kosar Abdi.
The president during his visit never mentioning Blake by name, instead defending police, saying officers sometimes, quote, choke, similar to a golf player missing a putt.
You have some bad apples, we all know that, and those will be taken care of through the system. and nobody's going to be easy on them either. And you have people that choke.
The Blake family did not meet with the president, instead hosting a day of community service at the site of the shooting.
Shocker in Massachusetts, for the first time, a Kennedy has lost in a Democratic primary. He was defeated by incumbent Senator Ed Markey. More than a dozen people go on trial starting today in Paris for their alleged connection to those who carried out the Charlie Hebdo terror attacks back in 2015. This is ABC News. A 4-star general is now being put in charge of an investigation into how commanders at Fort Hood handled the disappearances and deaths of several soldiers. A former airline worker pleading guilty to making fake airline IDs so he could cheat his way onto flights.
Hubbard Bell of Houston admitting via teleconference in court that he ran a scheme to make counterfeit Mesa Airlines employee badges and sold Mesa worker data so he and others could get free flights. Bell pleading guilty to after he was fired from Mesa Airlines that he would make the badges and sell the information to get free flights on Spirit Airlines. Bell will learn his sentence in December. He could get 20 years in prison. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
And the vote's expected today on the final recommendation for the new state flag in Mississippi. It would replace what had been the last state flag to bear the battle flag of the Confederacy. One includes a red and white shield, another magnolia. I'm Tom Rivers, ABC News.
Microban 24 protects against Staphylococcus aureus and Enterobacter aerogenes bacteria, but does not provide 24-hour protection against viruses. Every time you touch a surface, you leave behind bacteria. To keep surfaces sanitized all day, use Microban 24. Spray on hard surfaces to kill 99.9% of viruses and bacteria initially. Once dry, Microban 24 is effective for 24 hours on bacteria when used as directed. Microban 24 sanitizing spray, bathroom, and multi-surface cleaner.
How do smart, hard-working roofing contractors run jobs smoothly, even remotely? They save time with Beacon. The Beacon Pro Plus app features simple online ordering and bill pay. Choose products like the new GAF Timberline HDZ shingles with a 600% larger strike zone nailing area for faster, more accurate installations. Pick the style, color, and quantity and let the app order for you. With Beacon Pro Plus, order round the clock from anywhere. Work smarter. Download the free app at beaconproplus.com.
I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson with a news update on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Maine State Police are asking for your help tracking down a missing mother and daughter. They say 32-year-old Ashley Miller was last seen yesterday at noon on Tunk Lake Road in Sullivan. That's down east, not far from Mount Desert Island. Police say Miller had several medical conditions and her family is concerned for her and her 4-year-old daughter's safety. Police say Ashley is not in trouble, but they want to make sure they are both safe and that a statewide search is underway. Seafood industry in Maine could see a $20 million boost by the end of next month, according to Maine Public. The funds will be made available under the Federal CARES Act. Fishing license holders and also shellfish growers who qualify will get the same payment regardless of the size of the business. The Marine Resources Commissioner says state and federal officials are nearing a final agreement, and the money will go straight to individual seafood businesses in Maine. Maine CDC says it's reporting more outbreaks at colleges. They include Maine Maritime Academy and University of New England. Director of the CDC says there have been at least 3 confirmed cases at both institutions. Coronavirus cases have also been reported at the University of Maine, also University of Southern Maine, and University of Maine Law School. CDC is now warning people to avoid putting masks on your pets. Reports say pets are at low risk for contracting the coronavirus. CDC suggests keeping pets away from people who aren't in their home and, of course, from anyone who may be sick. In rare instances, there have been cases of dogs contracting coronavirus. Maine CDC is warning about a hepatitis A case at a Sacco Pizza restaurant. CDC says an employee who handled food at the Sacco House of Pizza was infected with hepatitis A. Maine CDC says restaurant customers and employees may be at risk for hepatitis A infection. They say anyone who worked at or ate food from the restaurant between August 18th and the 21st should get a hepatitis A vaccine right away. Brunswick residents are no longer allowed to put glass containers in their recycling bins. Instead, they're being asked to put those containers with their regular household trash. Brunswick says this change doesn't impact returnable glass beverage containers that, under the Maine bottle bill, should still be brought to the redemption centers. Central Maine Power is now offering incentives for installing electric vehicle charging stations. The company's new program offers up to $4,000 toward the cost of installing faster Level 2 charging stations. High school sports in Maine could be delayed even longer. The Maine Principals Association voted last week on recommendations to allow all fall sports. Those recommendations include practice starting on September 8th, 1 week from today, with games starting as early as the 18th. CBS 13 asked DHHS about whether it would approve those recommendations. The commissioner says DHHS has concerns about that timetable. An old bridge on the mid-coast is causing some concerns about safety. This week, engineers are inspecting a bridge that connects Brunswick and Topsom. The Maine Department of Transportation says the bridge is in poor shape and plans to replace it with a new, nearly $20 million bridge. The Frank J. Wood Bridge was built in 1931. Sports, the Red Sox lose to the Braves. Final score 10-3. They play the Braves tonight at 7:30. NBA playoffs, the Celtics beat the Raptors 102-99. The Celtics have now won 6 straight playoff games. Boston leads the semifinals 2-0. Game 3 is tomorrow at 6:30. I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
Were you thinking of enrolling at Kennebec Valley Community College this fall, but now worry it's too late? Hi, I'm Nicole, a student in the mental health program at KVCC, and do I have some good news for you? KVCC has a Flex Start semester beginning September 21st that offers high-demand classes delivered in both hybrid and online formats. Flex Start offers students the opportunity to begin taking college classes without delaying another semester. New students can complete classes required in nearly every major, and students already attending can add a class to their fall schedule. At only $96 per credit, tuition at KVCC is the lowest in New England. Students who enroll during Flex Start are also eligible to apply for financial aid. Don't let the opportunity to attend KVCC pass you by. Flex Start classes begin September 21st. For more information, go to kvcc.me.edu or call 453-KVCC today.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. Mostly cloudy today with a few afternoon showers possible. Another cool day with highs mainly in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Tonight we'll keep the risk of scattered showers going, lows in the lower 60s. Tomorrow sunshine returns and it's much warmer with highs in the low 80s. We'll keep the warm trend going into Friday with sunshine and temperatures in the mid 80s.
All right, Matt, thanks. Cloudy skies, and that looks like it's the drill for the day today. We've got 55 in Skowhegan, 57 in Waterville, 57 degrees and cloudy skies as well here in Augusta. You are now up to date from Maine's Heritage Station, Legacy 1160 WSKW.
It's like your father is on the radio every day.
When I was 17, I drank some very good beer. I drank some very good beer I purchased with a fake ID. My name was Brian McKee.
It's the Mike Violet Show on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Good morning. It's that middle of the weekday that we call Wednesday. It's Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020. The Mike Violet Show brought to you by Kennebec Electric and Lighting. Contact them for all your electric and lighting servicing, including expert installations and repairs. 861-7028, online, KennebecElectric.com. We're online, too. You can go to Legacy1160.com. Click on the Listen Live link. You can listen live. You can watch live there. Powered by the Harry J. Smith Company, Sanger Avenue in Waterville. Great place to take your car to get it fixed. And our Facebook Live feed, as always, is brought to you by Moody's Collision Centers. Speaking of taking your car to a great place, when she gets all stove to hell, you take it to Moody's. They'll fix you right up, that's for sure. Coming up next hour, it's the boys. Phil Harriman, Ethan Strimling, agree to disagree on the radio. Mr. Strimling and Mr. Harriman will be here at 7:08. Right now, it's time for the Ken and Mike Hour. I welcome Ken Altshuler. Good morning, Ken. Ken? Ken, are you there? Hello, Ken. Where did he go?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes.
Me now?
Yes, I can, Ken. Good morning. What's wrong?
Well, I was just going to criticize you.
Why?
For saying that Phil and Ethan were going to be on at 7:08.
Oh, I did say that? I'm sorry.
But then again, I've had my phone on mute, so.
Yeah.
I can't.
Right. I have fixed up many of your colossal screw ups many times. So
Well, you're the radio pro. I'm the little buddy. You're the skipper.
I am the radio pro. There's no question about it. But you say that. You were in radio. My God, I was in diapers, for crying out loud, in Oklahoma City.
When I was 13 years old.
13
years old, I was the mascot for the Gooseberry radio show on WKY radio in Oklahoma City. And Friday night, we would go to the used car dealers. I would wear a little, remember Tattoo from Fantasy Island?
Yes, of course. How can you forget a man, Hervé Villechaize, who was not even 4 foot tall, who was once accused of swathing a 6 foot tall blonde with chocolate? How could you forget somebody like that?
Well, I can't. And I was probably 4 feet tall, but I may have been 7th grade. Anyway, so we'd go on Friday with Jim Goose Bowman, and I would go with the big mic. It was a car with this huge mic on top.
Right.
And we'd both wear tuxedos. And Friday night we would sit there and hand out prizes.
Right.
While Barry McGrew was in studio engineering, and that's what I did every Friday for about 2 or 3 years.
Now, were you playing music?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Top 40.
Playing the hits.
Playing the hit. Spinning the wax.
So how did this come about at 13 years old? How did you end up doing that?
I actually, in my backyard, I remember being outside and I'm taping. I did a tape. I did a tape of me as a disc jockey my voice was a slightly higher than and I did a tape, like a half-hour tape, because I wanted to be a disc jockey. And
right.
I sent it to the Gooseberry radio show and said, I'd like to try out and be your mascot. And they said yes. Who would have thought that?
Yes, and it has all turned into this now.
Yeah, so, and I've been, then I did college radio. I did lots of college radio at University of Massachusetts and Amherst. I did a stint at University of Michigan, and but college radio is different than real radio.
Refreshingly different sometimes.
Yeah, because you're subsidized, which is nice. And
yeah,
the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, they had at that time. I don't know if you know what records are. You know what records are.
I do. Some people listening may not.
They had a record library of about 125,000 albums. I mean, it was pretty amazing. And then on Sunday morning, I would engineer the Sunday morning religious show.
Sure.
I don't remember the minister's name, but he was this great, this fire and brimstone minister who'd come in the radio at like 6 in the morning. I engineered it. Yeah, what can I say?
I just got a Facebook message from Sweden. I'm not kidding, Ken. And this happens a lot with this particular radio station, which appears to transmit well overseas. But I have a message from Gota Lindström from Sweden, listening in Tenhult, Sweden. And he says, greetings, my name is Gota Lindström, and I am writing to report reception of your radio station, WSKW, Skowhegan, Maine, AM 1160. So, Ken, you're being heard right now in Tenhult, Sweden.
Don't
feel any pressure.
No, you and I have a lot of fans in Sweden, I think, because you and I, first off, you and I enjoy Swedish massages, right? I'm not going any farther than that. That's the limit of my statement. But Sweden is Sweden probably really likes you because, of course, they're doing the herd reaction to coronavirus.
Yeah,
you support that because it's your God-given right to be infected and die.
Mm-hmm. I am part.
Come on, I'm throwing the gauntlet down.
Believe it or not, I am part Swedish. I know it's hard to believe, but I am my biological father. His first name was Sven. Not kidding.
Well, that explains the blonde hair.
Right. Right. All right. So let's get into it. The big story here in Maine, of course, is the Maine Principals Association, which came out last week and said that we could have fall high school sports. And now the Mills administration, Her Royal Highness, and her henchmen and women have said we can't have high school sports. I didn't think that high school sports was going to be a political football, pun intended, but Ken, it's a political football.
Well, and you knew it was going to be a political football. Look, you and I talked about this last week, and I do kind of believe that people should have the freedom to make choices on their own. I think from a safety coronavirus point of view, probably eliminating sports is certainly the safest course. I don't really, if parents want their kids to play football and the kids want to play football and run the risk of getting coronavirus, I think that Maine is relatively safe, and I think that
relatively safe. Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, I mean, they are. Now, they're also safe because Janet Mills has done a pretty decent job. In her, so, because you guys are not going to give her any credit for that.
No, I'm not.
I am, and I think that, I just got an email from a friend in Iowa. Iowa's the highest coronavirus state in the country because they have an insane governor who doesn't believe in masks and social distancing. So you got to choose your poison. I mean,
well, look, not far away from there is the South Dakota governor who doesn't believe in masks either, and she never shut the state down. Kristi Noem never shut the state down business-wise and gave everybody the choice to make the call there themselves, and they're fine. So it's, and look.
There are examples on both sides.
I agree. So, and, here in Maine, we've got the Big Moose Inn thing in Millinocket. That's spread down all the way literally down to Sanford now.
Sanford.
Yeah. So
look, here is my mantra. Here's how I feel. This started, let's say, in March. End of March 2020 is where things went south permanently. Let's say we're going to get a vaccination. And by the way, that's a discussion we have to have too, because I can't tell you how many people have said to me that they will not take the vaccination, which I think is just insane. I have to say. I mean, the minute I can take the vaccination, and I don't care if it's only been tested on chimps, I'm taking the vaccination.
Really?
I will be the guinea pig. I have no issue with it. But look, so let's say we're going to have a vaccination in January or February, and Fauci says maybe beforehand. So if you just conceptualize, okay, we are losing a year out of our lives. Now, I'm 68. Me losing a year is much worse than Mike Violet because you're a young man compared to
By the way, let's stop you right here. Your birthday, of course, was Sunday. So happy belated birthday to you. On turning 68 years old. Next year, you'll have the pleasure of turning 69. That'll be fun.
That will be for a number of reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
That's assuming I survive.
Right. It's assuming you make it.
Right. And you did post that. And of course, as people know, that was our anniversary of our first show.
Exactly.
The only birthday in my entire life that I worked on my birthday because it was your first show.
Yep. August 31st, 2004 was the first WGAN Morning News with Ken and Mike.
And it was just magic. What can I say?
It was. It brings a tear to my eye to think about it.
It does.
Yes.
So it's a year out of our life. So if you look at it like, okay, we are screwed for a year. For a year, life will be terrible. We're not going to be able to do anything, go anywhere. It's a year. But then it'll be over. Is that tragic, really?
Well, I think it depends on how old you are, what your perspective is, so forth and so on. I know I say that a lot, so forth and so on, but it's true. I mean, look at the discussion here about a senior in high school here in Maine who is a fall athlete who plays football or soccer or field hockey or volleyball or runs cross country or is on the golf team, which you may be if you were 16 years old and going to Freeport High School. And the fact that they're losing that year, the senior year of high school, for something that has a 99.96% survival rate seems really stupid to me.
Yes, if I was a senior in high school, it would suck. If I was a freshman in college, it would suck. If I was a senior in college, it would suck. I agree. I think that it sucks. Look, it's hard to spin this as a positive, and I'm not trying to do that. And you know that by February, if I'm not able to go somewhere for a week that has warm weather, you don't want to be around me because I'm going to be nastier than normal. So I understand, and I wish it wasn't so. But if we can really just hold on until there's a vaccination, and we're assuming there'll be one, and we're assuming it'll be successful, and we'll assume that enough people will take the vaccination to make it relatively inconsequential to our lives.
So
then it will have been worth it.
A texter says, so you're willing to tell us, you're telling us that as soon as the government run vaccination comes out, even if it was just tested on a chimpanzee, you're going to stick the needle in your body.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And another texter says, my body, my choice.
Look, I'm not, not that I, love the government. And I'm not saying the government does a lot of things well. But you know what? I believe in science. And I believe in vaccinations. I think that pertussis is a iffy vaccination, but we don't have smallpox anymore. We don't have tuberculosis anymore. We don't have polio anymore.
But you can't put coronavirus in the category of smallpox and any of those other things.
Agreed. But I had a flu shot a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get the flu this year. Now, that's the first time that's ever happened. I'll give you that.
Right.
And sometimes, some winters, I get the flu worse because I had a freaking flu shot.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, you take your shot, you minimize the impact. Yeah, I am not an anti-vaccinator. And I think there are some crazy people out there who are overly paranoid. And this is the person speaking who knows that the government gave Native Americans blankets with smallpox to kill them. So I'm not a big fan.
Who did that?
Captain Jeffrey Amherst, and we named a college and a town after
the Lord Jeffs.
Yeah,
the Lord Jeffs, who are no more. They have, of course, got rid of that.
Well, don't you think they should change the name of Amherst?
No. Texter wants to know, speaking of UMass Amherst, when you were spinning the discs in college, were you smoking weed during that time?
Well, of course.
I was going to say.
I mean, listen, let me make it really clear. In August of 1970, when I came to the Ann Arbor campus and I discovered liberal politics, because I'm from Oklahoma, and the devil weed marijuana, I started smoking and really didn't stop for a long time. But I probably haven't partaken. Now pot's too powerful for me. I can't handle it. I'm frail. I'm weak.
When was the last time you smoked marijuana?
I'm going to say. Oh, what are you talking about? Edibles? Or you talking?
No,
about
I'm talking smoking.
I would say probably 5 years ago.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say Friday.
No. But that's why I asked you to see what you're doing edibles, because edibles is much. Look, I don't think inhaling marijuana is particularly good for you. I'm not. Right. I mean, and today's pot is really, really, really powerful.
Yeah, I'd rather eat it too, and in fact, I have. All right, we got a break here, Ken. 7:27. It's the Ken and Mike Hour. We have a lot of other things to get to with Ken Altula. We'll do that following the news from CBS 13's Jeff Peterson, with the forecast coming as well from CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. That is next.
Maine Voter Information Hotline. Can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about those ads running for Susan Collins, the ones attacking Sarah Gideon.
Yes, ma'am. We've been getting a lot of calls about those.
Huh. Well, are they true? Like what they say about Sarah Gideon and taxes?
Well, it says here newspapers have been speaking out about those. The Portland Press-Herald said the ads were largely out of context, and the Bangor Daily News said the ad misleads on Gideon's record of paying taxes.
Interesting. But is it true that Gideon raised taxes in Augusta?
No, ma'am. Says here Sarah Gideon helped lower taxes for the middle class, including sponsoring the first direct property tax relief bill to pass in many years.
I told Bert I remembered that. I should get him to call you.
I'll leave that to you, ma'am. We are pretty busy these days.
I can only imagine. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sarah Gideon from Maine.
I'm a hiker, and I am Sam.
The Sportsman's Alliance of Maine is a champion of our rights to fully enjoy Maine as we like. Support the preservation of our proud outdoor heritage by becoming a member at sportsmansallianceofmaine.org today.
Feeling cooped up? Tired of looking at the same old stuff day after day? Now that we can finally get out and do a little shopping, why not head over to Town Line Antiques? At Town Line Antiques, there's 2 floors, 50 dealers, and thousands of items from throughout history. They've got vintage signs, furniture, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, home decor, and a lot more. Get away from it all with a look to the past. Town Line Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday, 10 to 5, Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassalboro Town Line.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson with a news update on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Maine State Police are asking for your help tracking down a missing mother and daughter. They say 32-year-old Ashley Miller was last seen yesterday at noon on Tunk Lake Road in Sullivan. That's down east, not far from Mount Desert Island. Police say Miller had several medical conditions and her family is concerned for her and her 4-year-old daughter's safety. Police say Ashley is not in trouble, but they want to make sure they are both safe and that a statewide search is underway. Seafood industry in Maine could see a $20 million boost by the end of next month, according to Maine Public. The funds will be made available under the Federal CARES Act. Fishing license holders and also shellfish growers who qualify will get the same payment regardless of the size of the business. The Marine Resources Commissioner says state and federal officials are nearing a final agreement, and the money will go straight to individual seafood businesses in Maine. Maine CDC says it's reporting more outbreaks at colleges. They include Maine Maritime Academy and University of New England. Director of the CDC says there have been at least 3 confirmed cases of both institutions. Coronavirus cases have also been reported at the University of Maine, also University of Southern Maine, and University of Maine Law School. CDC is now warning people to avoid putting masks on your pets. Reports say pets are at low risk for contracting the coronavirus. CDC suggests keeping pets away from people who aren't in their home and, of course, from anyone who may be sick. In rare instances, there have been cases of dogs contracting coronavirus. Maine CDC is warning about a hepatitis A case at a Sacco Pizza restaurant. CDC says an employee who handled food at the Sacco House of Pizza was infected with hepatitis A. Maine CDC says restaurant customers and employees may be at risk for hepatitis A infection. They say anyone who worked out or ate food from the restaurant between August 18th and 21st should get a hepatitis A vaccine right away. Brunswick residents are no longer allowed to put glass containers in their recycling bins. Instead, they're being asked to put those containers with their regular household trash. Brunswick says this change doesn't impact returnable glass beverage containers that, under the Maine bottle bill, should still be brought to the redemption centers. Central Maine Power is now offering incentives for installing electric vehicle charging stations. The company's new program offers up to $4,000 toward the cost of installing faster Level 2 charging stations. High school sports in Maine could be delayed even longer. The Maine Principal Association voted last week on recommendations to allow all fall sports. Those recommendations include practice starting on September 8th, 1 week from today, with games starting as early as the 18th. CBS 13 asked DHHS about whether it would approve those recommendations. The commissioner says DHHS has concerns about that timetable. An old bridge on the mid-coast is causing some concerns about safety. This week, engineers are inspecting a bridge that connects Brunswick and Topsom. The Maine Department of Transportation says the bridge is in poor shape and plans to replace it with a new, nearly $20 million bridge. The Frank J. Wood Bridge was built in 1931. Sports, the Red Sox lose to the Braves. Final score 10-3. They play the Braves tonight at 7:30. NBA playoffs, the Celtics beat the Raptors 102-99. The Celtics now won 6 straight playoff games. Boston leads the semifinals 2-0. Game 3 is tomorrow at 6:30. I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Maine Voter Information Hotline. Can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about those ads running for Susan Collins, you know, the ones attacking Sarah Gideon.
Yes, ma'am. We've been getting a lot of calls about those.
Huh. Well, are they true? Like what they say about Sarah Gideon and taxes?
Well, it says here newspapers have been speaking out about those. The Portland Press-Herald said the ads were largely out of context, and the Bangor Daily News said the ad misleads on Gideon's record of paying taxes.
Interesting. But is it true that Gideon raised taxes in Augusta?
No, ma'am. Says here Sarah Gideon helped lower taxes for the middle class, including sponsoring the first direct property tax relief bill to pass in many years.
I told Bert I remembered that. I should get him to call you.
I'll leave that to you, ma'am. We are pretty busy these days.
I can only imagine. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sarah Gideon for Maine.
Are you feeling cooped up? Tired of looking at the same old stuff at home day after day? Well, now that we can finally get out and do a little bit of shopping, why not head over to Townline Antiques? At Townline Antiques, you'll find 2 floors, 50 dealers, and thousands of items from throughout history. They've got vintage signs, furniture, classic electronics, sports memorabilia, jewelry, coins, home decor, and much, much more. So get away from it all with a look to the past at Townline Antiques, open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 to 5 on Route 201, right on the Winslow-Vassarboro Town Line.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. Mostly cloudy today with a few afternoon showers possible. Another cool day with highs mainly in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Tonight we'll keep the risk of scattered showers going, lows in the lower 60s. Tomorrow sunshine returns and it's much warmer with highs in the low 80s. We'll keep the warm trend going into Friday with sunshine and temperatures in the mid 80s.
All right, Matt, thanks. Clouds 57 in Skowhegan, 58 in Waterville, 58 degrees as well here in Augusta. You are up to date. From Maine's Heritage Station, Legacy 1160 WSKW.
You think it? He says it.
Yada, yada, yada.
It's the Mike Violet Show on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Good morning, 7:35. Mike Violet Show, but it's not just about me. It's about him, too. It's the Ken and Mike Hour. It's that middle of the weekday that we call Wednesday. No humps around here, as you well know. Ken certainly is well aware of that, having done a show with me every day for 12 years. It is Wednesday. It is August. There I am stuck again. September 2nd, 2020. The show is brought to you by Kennebec Electric and Lighting, 861-7028, online at kennebecelectric.com. You can also hear us online. Go to legacy1160.com. Click on the Listen Live link. Audio, video there, brought to you by the Harry J. Smith Company. Also, you can see us on Facebook Live. Listen to us as well on Facebook Live, brought to you by Moody's Collision Center. Next hour, 8:08. Phil Harriman, Ethan Strimling, the boys here with Agree to Disagree. So let's talk about our medical problem, shall we, Ken?
Medical problem?
Yes, I'll go first, all right?
Okay.
All right. You don't know if I could possibly, I know you're not a doctor, but sometimes you do play one on the radio.
I do.
And you are an attorney, and sometimes that's close enough for me. So I was wondering if I might get a foot transplant, actually a feet transplant, because you see both of my feet are on the injured reserve list today. On my right foot, on my right heel, I have an inflamed bursa sac. You ever had an inflamed bursa sac before?
I've had an angry bursa sac, but never inflamed.
I think they're one and the same. I think my bursa sac on my right heel is angry at me. So as if that's not bad enough, Saturday, I may have torn my Achilles tendon on my left foot, and I am wearing one of those boot cast things.
Oh, a walking boot?
Yeah, a walking boot thing that goes all the way up to my knee.
Tearing an Achilles tendon is not good.
Now,
I'll fight against it.
I have already torn the Achilles tendon on the right heel, which is probably partly responsible for the inflamed bursa sac on the right side. You probably you probably don't remember when I did it, but I actually did it when we moved from Waterville to Poland in 2005.
Well, I'm assuming it's your golf swing that caused you to kill yourself.
Yeah, it's all the torque there, you know?
Exactly. So how did you do that?
So Saturday, I was literally walking to my car. I'm not joking. I'm walking to my car, hobbling with the right side, of course, with the inflamed bursa sac. And I took a step, pushed off, and then it felt like somebody had run up from behind me and stuck a steak knife in the back of my lower leg.
Yikes. Ah.
Yeah. So I didn't quite fall all the way down, but I came, being the drama king that I am, normally I would have done that, but I noticed
I would have loved to see you rolling on the ground. That would have been really
writhing in pain,
That,
So with nobody around to see me in distress, I hobbled back and got to my house and tried to do the best I could. I thought, well, it's a cramp. It's no big thing. It's a cramp. Guess what? It's not a cramp. So as it turned out, I had a foot doctor's appointment yesterday for the right bursa sac, which ended up being 2 for the price of 1, because then I had my partially torn or maybe all the way torn Achilles tendon looked at. So I have to have an MRI done. Hopefully that's going to get done today to figure out where we go from here. So that's what I got going on.
A completely torn Achilles tendon is not good.
No, it is not. And I don't think this
not
is.
Completely torn. You need to lay off it for, I'm talking about weeks, because that is one of those injuries that can last forever. Now, as you know, on August 3rd, I had a colonoscopy and a scope.
Right. Yep.
They got me from both ends. That's
Mhm.
all I can say. And evidently, when they did the scope, they scratched something on the way down my throat. So I've been now coughing for 4 or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Although my doctor gave me some significant steroids, which I will tell you, everybody should be on steroids.
I know.
24/7. There's no. I mean, we should require our athletes to take steroids.
They sure make you feel good all over, don't they?
Man, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So my cough has lessened, but last Friday, I swallowed a camera on purpose.
Okay.
Small camera. And I wore a monitor, and it went down through my, wherever it goes, through my small intestine.
Mhm.
You don't know exactly where or when it comes out, but that's a discussion for a later date. I have not gotten the results yet, but I have this fantastic voyage that went through my body with a little ship of 3 people sitting in it. I don't know. So I do think I trump you, and I don't want to say Trump.
Yeah.
I got to be careful about that. But torn Achilles tendon is fine.
Well, yeah, somebody said to me yesterday, well, gee, I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't have cancer or anything. This is not, I'm not going to die. I doubt people die from partially torn or torn Achilles tendon. So I don't think they die from inflamed bursa sacs on their heels. So I think I'm good. I think I'll be fine.
It's not about just life and death. It's about quality of life.
No, true. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to be playing golf anytime soon, which, probably
Mike,
has
you were not playing. Mike, you were not playing golf beforehand. But I will tell you, just so you know, and I have not been able to play golf much. Hence, you and I are not playing.
Right.
Month of August was not a good month.
No.
But my game has deteriorated to the point where I am really going to go back to miniature golf. The windmill is less of a challenge to me.
Yeah, and plus they usually have ice cream and hot dogs afterwards, so
that's true.
It can in many ways be a better experience. All right, you mentioned our president. He's your president too, Donald J. Trump. Boy, you're not going to believe this yesterday. He went to Kenosha, Wisconsin, right?
Yeah.
And here's what he said. You ready? Listen to this.
All of these problems are Democrat cities. We don't want to say it, but it is. The top 10 are Democrat. Then you go into the top 25 and take a look at that. It's the same thing.
So, Ken, are you and your party ready to take responsibility for all of these firebomb cities now?
Well, of course. Listen, if Democrats win the election in November, the world as we know it will end. We will be anarchy. We will be run by progressive leftists, socialism, communism. The world will be over. Donald Trump.
The world will be different. Yep.
only thing standing between complete and utter chaos and anarchy and civilization. And what's so great is that we have a president whose middle name is ethical. I mean, this is a man who doesn't care about himself, doesn't care about his own fortune and his family. Nepotism? No.
There's never been any nepotism in the White House before, ever. No.
And if Donald Trump is reelected for the second and third and fourth terms, I anticipate.
Mm-hmm.
The sun will come out. Well, we will have no more, hurricanes, no more snowstorms. No, listen.
Well, just like Obama said, he was going to end global warming and stop the water from rising.
There you go.
So, and let's try to have a serious conversation about this if we can. All right, because we are always told this is the most important election of our time. Every time we have one, we're told that. So, of course, this is the latest, greatest, most important election of our time. Now, I want to go back to 2008 when I shuddered at the thought of either your gal Hill being president or Barack Obama being president. As it turned out, it was Barack Obama being president. I survived 2 terms of Barack Obama and what he brought to the table. You've survived, you've gotten through, and probably your 401k is better for it. A Donald Trump presidency. Maybe you'll have another 4 years, or maybe Joe Biden is going to be president. So does each side overreact to this every time it happens when the prospect of the other party winning the presidency either again or for the first time is on the table?
Of course. And when George W. Bush was president, I could not believe I could survive 8 years of George W.
Because you thought he was a dummy early on. I know that.
Well, look, nobody is president who's stupid, although, well, okay. No, I mean, listen, George W. Bush.
Again, I refer you to your 401k.
Exactly. And by the way, I would pay to have George W. back in office. I mean, let's be careful what you wish.
You wouldn't be able to use that money out of your 401k because it wouldn't be as much as it is.
That's true. Here is why I actually think this could be one of the most important elections of our time. 3 words: Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
God, yeah.
And I think because right now we're 5-4, 4-5, liberal conservative. Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not going to survive. I'm not sure she'll survive till November. So
yeah, but we've been saying that since Obama was president.
I know. And she should have resigned when Obama was president. Although who knows if the Senate would have let him nominate them.
She should have.
And Donald Trump has nominated over 200 federal judges, and I will tell you that the quality of the appointments are not what we would consider stellar. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg dying during a Republican administration, a Donald Trump administration, will change the Supreme Court for at least 20 years. At least 20 years. And the Supreme Court has more, the Supreme Court truly has more control over our society and our values and our principles. I mean, just look at the Burger Court. Look at the 1960s. Look at William Douglas. I mean, so.
Well, certainly, Brown versus the Board of Education.
Right.
There's been some significant ones, but let's not overdo that. From day to day, Americans right now, in the here and now, what issue that the Supreme Court has made a decision on here? I mean, we've had the Obamacare decision. Obviously, that had great impact. But on a day-to-day basis, there's not a whole lot, I don't think, that impacts us from the Supreme Court. Or am I wrong?
Well, this year has been a surprise because John Roberts has been the new swing vote. But you take out Ruth Bader Ginsburg and add a conservative, and John Roberts is now the minority. And Roe v. Wade, which, by the way, I know my liberal friends are going to hate me for this, is really bad law. I mean, it's really a bizarre, unscientific, and not legally sound decision.
Listen to you making sense.
What is it? It's crap. It's crap science.
But you know what, Ken? I don't care. Stack the deck, whichever side you want. It's not going anywhere.
Well, what could happen is it could be eroded more, and more states' rights, more we will let the individual states decide what's good for them, and we will not have a national mandate. I agree with you. Abortion will not be out, but it will be more restricted, particularly in the South and the Midwest. And you got the argument about, poor women and will they have the same care as a New York, white Jewish princess, kind of thing. So was that racist of me?
Probably, but you're a Jew, so you can get away with it.
I can. Thank you.
All right. We're talking to Ken Altshuler, it's the Ken and Mike Hour. By the way, Ken, guess what time it is?
What time is it? Jumbo jet time.
Yeah, it's jumbo jet time, man. So I got to admit, something happened yesterday that warmed the cockles of my cold alligator heart. And that was the fact that this phone call had to be made.
A few moments ago, I called Senator Markey to congratulate him and to pledge my support to him and his campaign in the months ahead.
He is the first Kennedy to lose a race for Congress in Massachusetts against Ed Markey. Now, let me say this. It wouldn't matter which one of them won because they're two peas in a pod. They will vote exactly the same. But even though I think Ed Markey is a dolt, as you might say, at 74 years old, he's been in Congress for 40 years and done less than Joe Biden has ever done, and that's saying something. But to beat a Kennedy, this is supposed to be his seat, Ken. What happened to Kennedy?
Well, first of all, the fact that...
Isn't it his God-given right to have
that's
this?
The problem. And that shows you, frankly, the stupidity of the average voter. Because you put the name Kennedy on a ballot in Massachusetts, and they win, no matter how stupid. Ted Kennedy was an imbecile. I mean, this guy was an absolute imbecile. And look how long he was in the Senate.
He was the lion of the Senate. And by lion, I mean Lyin.
Yes, I know. So the bottom line is that the Kennedys continued to get elected because the last thing was Kennedy without any consideration for any quality whatsoever. So, but I think people do it. I mean, it takes a long time for people to get tired. But I think people at this point are saying, Kennedy, who cares? I mean, I just don't think it has the magic anymore. And I think that I think things change, and young people in the 20s and 30s are not enamored by Camelot anymore, nor should they be. And I'm glad, because you shouldn't win an election just because what your last name is.
But I loved it, I got to say. You know how I love the Kennedys. All right, and somebody else I love a great deal. And what did you say Ted Kennedy was? Did you call him a dummy? What did you call him?
An imbecile.
Imbecile. Speaking of imbeciles from the Democrat Party, I want to talk to you about Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Did you see where Nancy Pelosi went and had her hair done in San Francisco the other day, and in fact was caught on video doing so? Did you see that?
I don't really follow Nancy Pelosi.
All right. Well, the reason I bring it up, Ken, is because, of course, you aren't allowed to do that in San Francisco. You see, for 6 months, people in San Francisco, stylists have been prohibited from cutting and styling their clients' hair inside a salon. But Nancy Pelosi said she didn't understand that she wasn't allowed to do that. And also, by the way, you're supposed to wear a mask, and she didn't wear one of those either. This is why we don't like this coronavirus stuff and all of these edicts that come down from above from people like Nancy Pelosi and Janet Mills.
Listen, if you're gonna say you're surprised by the hypocrisy of politicians, well, I got a bridge to sell you, because of course that doesn't surprise me at all. And I'm not, as you know, I've never been a fan of Nancy Pelosi. I think she should have been not out of office, but at least from the House Majority Leader years and years ago. And I want you to know, when I went to Supercut this weekend to get my haircut, I wore a mask.
Good for you.
Are you proud of me?
I'm very proud of you. But Speaker Pelosi, of course, did not wear a mask. And this came just a couple of days after she said that the Republicans are blamed for the slowdown in reopening because they don't listen to the scientists. I love this stuff. You can't make this stuff up.
But you do know that there's many conservative women who
Of course.
also...
Of course. And good for them. Of course. And, you
Has
know...
Janet Mills been in a Solana, as far as we know.
It sure doesn't look like it, that's for sure. I don't know what they call Trump the orange man. They could very easily call her the orange woman. I don't know where she gets her hair done, but I don't think she's going to be doing endorsements for them anytime soon.
No, I agree with you. Nancy Pelosi is, I think she's done a pretty effective job for the Democratic Party. I hate to admit it. I would have, listen, we've got to get rid, particularly of angry old white men in their 70s. But, we need to get some young people in positions of power. We need that. That's why I'm looking forward to Kamala Harris
being president
2024.
It's gonna if he wins the election, believe me, it'll happen by the end of 2021. She will be president. Don't worry.
Which would be great, and I think Nikki Haley will be a good candidate. I think Mike Pence will certainly run in 2024. But of course, we've got Ivanka. Donald Trump says Ivanka should be president in 2024.
Yeah.
Are we ready for a Jewish woman president, Mike?
Did she convert?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. For her man, Jared.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is not the same Jared who used to be the ad man for Subway.
No, he is. He and his footlong have gone to prison, as you might recall. He was a child molester.
Wow.
Did you not remember that?
I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that, but I still will tell you, I still go to Subway.
Don't we all? So Biden yesterday or the other day had a real hard time when it came to the numbers with the coronavirus. He lost his place on the teleprompter or something, and fell off the wagon there. Are you any more concerned this week about his mental state?
Well, how about Donald Trump's mini stroke? Are you talking about that?
If he had it, sure, I'm happy to talk about it.
Well, they won't. They're not admitting that he had a mini stroke.
Do you know that I went to the Trump rally Friday in Manchester?
No, you didn't.
I did.
And?
You didn't see that on Facebook that I went to the Trump rally in Manchester Friday?
I try not to look at my Facebook.
Well, how about looking at my Facebook?
Listen, let me just say that I'm sitting at my house on Monday, and my twins bring in a birthday cake for me and sing happy
birthday, Moose.
And 3 minutes later, it's on freaking Facebook with my daughter.
Yep, we were watching. I think I watched it live.
You probably did. Is there no privacy? What if I was not wearing pants?
Well, I actually tried to see that. I'm not kidding. I tried to see if I noticed you had a shirt on, which was good.
I was wearing pants.
Right. I'll bet you weren't wearing shoes.
But never. I hate you.
Yeah.
You know that.
I
But
know.
at my advanced age, you shouldn't be having me on live Facebook ever.
Right. Yeah, because eventually we're going to see you in a hospital, Johnny, or something like that with a back open, and it's not going to be pretty.
By the way, are you going to make a special announcement about?
Yes, about your future.
Yeah.
Well, my attorneys, the legacy attorneys. First, though, I got to read this to you. I absolutely hate to say this, but that little liberal nut job is growing on me. Definitely better than that flaming moron with his head up his ass, Ethan Strimling.
See, I'm loved. I'm beloved by the listeners.
So our attorneys here at Legacy 1160 WSKW have been in secret, intense, smoke-filled room negotiations with your attorneys about having you appear on the show more often. And this has been a difficult a negotiation for sure, because I'm telling you, man, you guys when it comes to money, you guys really dig in, you know it?
Oh, I know we have to pay you for the privilege of coming out.
So we're going to have more Ken. We've had requests for more Ken. So more Ken is on the way, and that will be an appearance on Fridays now, correct, sir?
Correct. 7:08. We're going to do a half-hour recap. Remember the show That Was the Week That Was?
Yes.
I see it as a kind of Mike and Ken recapping the highlights of the week, getting people ready for the weekend, and then we're gonna see how it goes, because I don't want to wear thin on the listeners. You know, my voice can start grating on people.
So you want to start off with less is more and see how that works.
Exactly. I want them begging for more.
All right. So we're going to start this Friday, correct, at 7:08.
That's correct. 7:08.
And you and I, Ken and Mike, will wrap the week up. You and I will wrap the week up in a half hour or so at 7:08, correct?
That is correct, my friend.
All right. I want to make sure I heard right from the lawyers here. Because I haven't signed off on it yet, all right? I know you've signed.
We don't have to pay you for that?
I'll get paid for that's for sure.
This is a banner day. This is great.
Well, look, I wish you well, and we will talk to you Friday.
Thank you, my friend. Talk to you in 2 days.
We'll talk to you then. Thank you, Ken. Ken Altshuler. So he'll be part of the show on Friday. We gotta work him in slowly. I asked for every day. So we're going to start off with Friday at 7:08. We'll wrap the week up. We could call it That's a Wrap with Ken and Mike. I like it. 7:58. The news is next. Phil and Ethan agree to disagree coming up after the top of the hour on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Have you been looking at those undone projects around the house this summer? Hi, this is Ken from Mackenzie Landscaping, your landscape supply center. Stop by Mackenzie Landscaping and let one of our experienced staff guide you through your next outdoor project. Whether you're thinking about a walkway, patio, or retaining wall, we have a great selection of products to choose from. We carry Teco Block, Gagny & Son, Swenson Granite, Champlain Stone, along with other hardscape products. Have you lost a pet and been wanting to get a memorial made or an address engraved in a stone? Stop by and have Renee work with you to design your project. So whether you're near or far, a homeowner or a contractor, no delivery is too big or small. With our different size trucks, we'll dispatch the right truck size for your order. And if you're looking to have pallets delivered, we have a truck that brings your pallets with a forklift to place your pallets next to your job site. Shop smart, shop local, and shop at Mackenzie Landscaping. Visit us on the web at mackenzielandscaping.com.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
Oh, say, can you see my thoughts what's so proudly we had at the twilight left me with broad stripes and bright stars to the perilous fight for the ramparts of was so carefree. Street and rockets meant to the one thing For the land of the free and the home
ABC News, I'm Inez de la Quatera. ABC News has learned that in early July, the Department of Homeland Security withheld publication of an intelligence bulletin warning law enforcement agencies of a Russian scheme to promote allegations of the poor mental health of former Vice President Biden. That, as Facebook and Twitter have removed accounts they say are linked to Russia's meddling in the upcoming election. President Trump back at the White House following his trip to Kenosha, Wisconsin. At the same time he was there, the family of police shooting victim Jacob Blake held a voter registration and food drive rally. ABC's Alex Perez in Kenosha.
The president was asked why he did not meet with the family, and he offered an explanation that he has given before, that the family wanted to have lawyers present during their meeting, which the way we understand it is not actually uncommon.
The trial of more than a dozen people accused of helping to carry out the Charlie Hebdo terror attacks begins today in Paris. This is ABC News. Ford and GM are now done making ventilators. The two car companies say they've fulfilled the contracts worked out in the early days of the pandemic. GM says it's still making masks, though. It's going to donate about $2 million to schools across Michigan. The coronavirus closure is still making a whole lot of us worried about work.
Months into the coronavirus pandemic, almost a third of American workers are nervous about their jobs.
They're still worried about furloughs and layoffs, which is to be expected just with the way that the economy is going.
Analyst Jill Gonzalez with the findings of a Wallet Hub survey, which also says that even if you're feeling secure in your job, you may not be feeling good about it.
So those who do have jobs are not necessarily happy with them right now.
The biggest complaint there, that bosses expect employees to take on more work. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
And a new ring will be on the way for Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes. He and his high school sweetheart announcing they're now engaged. Inez de la Quatera, ABC News.
It's official. The sale of the summer has arrived. Dell's Labor Day sale is happening right now with rare deals like savings of up to $300 on some of the latest and most innovative XPS and Alienware PCs yet with Intel Core processors. Plus, save on a curated selection of premium tech like Samsung TVs. All with complimentary shipping. Call 800-BUY-DELL or visit Dell.com/Labor Day. Again, call 800-BUY-DELL to take advantage of unprecedented Labor Day tech deals.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up, there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell. And engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson with a news update on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Maine State Police are asking for your help tracking down a missing mother and daughter. They say 32-year-old Ashley Miller was last seen yesterday at noon on Tunk Lake Road in Sullivan. That's down east, not far from Mount Desert Island. Police say Miller had several medical conditions and her family is concerned for her and her 4-year-old daughter's safety. Police say Ashley is not in trouble, but they want to make sure they are both safe and that a statewide search is underway. Seafood industry in Maine could see a $20 million boost by the end of next month, according to Maine Public. The funds will be made available under the Federal CARES Act. Fishing license holders and also shellfish growers who qualify will get the same payment regardless of the size of the business. The Marine Resources Commissioner says state and federal officials are nearing a final agreement, and the money will go straight to individual seafood businesses in Maine. Maine CDC says it's reporting more outbreaks at colleges. They include Maine Maritime Academy and University of New England. Director of the CDC says there have been at least 3 confirmed cases at both institutions. Coronavirus cases have also been reported at the University of Maine, also University of Southern Maine, and University of Maine Law School. CDC is now warning people to avoid putting masks on your pets. Reports say pets are at low risk for contracting the coronavirus. CDC suggests keeping pets away from people who aren't in their home and, of course, from anyone who may be sick. In rare instances, there have been cases of dogs contracting coronavirus. Maine CDC is warning about a hepatitis A case at a Sacco Pizza restaurant. CDC says an employee who handled food at the Sacco House of Pizza was infected with hepatitis A. Maine CDC says restaurant customers and employees may be at risk for hepatitis A infection. They say anyone who worked out or ate food from the restaurant between August 18th and 21st should get a hepatitis A vaccine right away. Brunswick residents are no longer allowed to put glass containers in their recycling bins. Instead, they're being asked to put those containers with their regular household trash. Brunswick says this change doesn't impact returnable glass beverage containers that, under the Maine bottle bill, should still be brought to the redemption centers. Central Maine Power is now offering incentives for installing electric vehicle charging stations. The company's new program offers up to $4,000 toward the cost of installing faster Level 2 charging stations. High school sports in Maine could be delayed even longer. The Maine Principals Association voted last week on recommendations to allow all fall sports. Those recommendations include practice starting on September 8th, 1 week from today, with games starting as early as the 18th. CBS 13 asked DHHS about whether it would approve those recommendations. The commissioner says DHHS has concerns about that timetable. An old bridge on Midcoast is causing some concerns about safety. This week, engineers are inspecting a bridge that connects Brunswick and Topsham. The Maine Department of Transportation says the bridge is in poor shape and plans to replace it with a new, nearly $20 million bridge. The Frank J. Wood Bridge was built in 1931. Sports, the Red Sox lose to the Braves. Final score 10-3. They play the Braves tonight at 7:30. NBA playoffs, the Celtics beat the Raptors 102-99. The Celtics have now won 6 straight playoff games. Boston leads the semifinals 2-0. Game 3 is tomorrow at 6:30. I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You want to get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
Hi, everyone. This is State Senator Brad Farron. As we continue to face new challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I want to remind you how important it is that we continue to fight against our state's opioid epidemic as well. For many people struggling with substance use disorders, increased stress, anxiety, and isolation has the potential to alter the course of their recovery. A simple step we can take to remain vigilant during this time is learning the warning signs of substance misuse so we can hopefully prevent a problem before it's too late. The RX Abuse Leadership Initiative of Maine, or RALLY, has tools available online so that we can all work to combat the opioid crisis from home. Visit rally-maine.org to take an interactive virtual tour that will teach you the hidden red flags of substance misuse so you might know what to look for if you think a loved one may be struggling. Again, that's rali-me.org. Thank you and stay safe.
Paid for by the RX Abuse Leadership Initiative.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. Mostly cloudy today with a few afternoon showers possible. Another cool day with highs mainly in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Tonight we'll keep the risk of scattered showers going, lows in the lower 60s. Tomorrow sunshine returns and it's much warmer with highs in the low 80s. We'll keep the warm trend going into Friday with sunshine and temperatures in the mid 80s.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. We have clouds. It's 54 in Skowhegan, 56 in Waterville, cloudy skies. Also, 56 degrees here in Augusta. And you are up to date from Maine's Heritage Station, Legacy 1160 WSKW.
There's fire and ice, oil and water, black and white, Republican and Democrat. Phil Harriman and Ethan Strimling will agree to disagree. Thank you very much. It's Agree to Disagree on the Mike Violet Show on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Because that's what they do. Good morning. It's 8:12. It is time for Agree to Disagree. From that side of the aisle, we welcome in Ethan Strimling. From that side of the aisle, we welcome in Phil Harriman. Ethan and Phil, good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm doing great. You mean I'm from the proper side of the aisle?
Yeah, the right side of the aisle for sure. I could have the big voice guy recut that and make sure that we point that out. However, the great thing about you guys, Ethan and Phil, is that you prove it every single time you're on, which one of you is right and which one of you is wrong. So I appreciate
that. I was at the Trump rally, buddy. I saw the pictures of you. I want to make sure you didn't get corona or anything like that. A lot of folks touching around there.
I don't have the COVID. I don't have the Rona.
Are you quarantining? Are you locking yourself up and nobody can talk to you for 2 weeks?
Actually, I always quarantine, Ethan, so it's okay. I was a trailblazer in social distancing, given my disgust and disdain with most people. You guys being exceptions. So, but I will tell you this, and I'll quickly get this out of the way, because as we know, this is not about me. This is about you guys. I can't imagine a Joe Biden rally being held now with as much passion and enthusiasm by the people who go there as I saw at the Donald Trump rally. And it was amazing. They love their president, and they are enthusiastic, and they are wholeheartedly behind him. I'm not sure we'd see the same thing. But anyway, enough
you're
about...
probably right about that. Let me give you a quick story about that, because this is the thing that every candidate, back in 2004, John Kerry was having these record turnout rallies. I mean, the Democratic Party was circulating these things. They were 3 times as big as anything Bush was having.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those kind of things. You're in your bubble. You think the world is on your side. And obviously we know what happened on election.
Right. And I will say that I have experienced the same thing on the other side. So I'm not sure what kind of a barometer it is, but I said it. And anyway, but I mean, obviously at the end of the day, as somebody once said, it doesn't matter all that much. All right, there's the bell. Let's get right into things here. Item number 1, let's move back to the conventions of the last couple of weeks. We had the Republican convention wrap up last week with the president's acceptance speech on Thursday. The Democrats obviously before that. But Phil Harriman, did anybody move the needle on either side here in these conventions the last couple of weeks?
I think on the Democrat side, Mike, that they solidified their base and reassured the party faithful that they have a winning message and a winning combination between youth and age and gender and color and all the diversification that needed to be expressed. So I think the Democrats actually solidified. I think the Republicans actually moved the needle a bit. And if you looked at it from a artistic point of view or a production value point of view, the difference was stark between the Democrats and the Republicans. And I think for anybody who was tuning in just out of curiosity, you saw on the Republican side a lot of amazing messages about Americans, not the government, not the politicians, but Americans who turned their life around, became a citizen, or is volunteering in their communities. And there were people of color and different backgrounds and religions. So I think the Republicans did move the needle a bit.
Ethan Stremling?
Purely from a polling perspective, I would say that Phil is right. Joe Biden.
This is being recorded, by the way, Ethan, and I just caught that. Phil is right. I'll make a drop out of that.
I tried to make sure there was like a word quickly right after that, but and if, but I'm sure you'll cut it out in editing.
Yes, I will.
From a purely polling perspective, Biden basically bumped the needle about a point and a half. And then Trump erased that and then gained an extra point. But the thing, of course, to remember is that, he basically went from a margin on average of being down 8 points to being down 7 points. So he still has a long way to go. And I think that was really reflected in the convention speeches. What Trump did was appeal to his hardcore right-wing base. And he has solidified that a little bit. I mean, remember, he is usually around 43 or 44%. He's been lower than that, 41, 42 in his favorables. And so he basically got back some of the people that he's lost. But what he didn't really do is try to make sure that he can appeal to that next 5 or 6 that he is desperately going to need in order to even have a shot to win re-election. Still time for him to do it, of course. That's not, it's not the end of the game at all. But he really just focused on his hardcore base. A lot of political analysts out there, right and left, were very surprised. You often talk about politics as you're always trying to add voters. And he was not really trying to add voters. He was simply trying to make sure that the people who already love him go to those rallies that you were at in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and are still pumped up.
It was Manchester.
Have to shift.
Okay, let's move on. Joe Biden says that Donald Trump is making the violence worse. Donald Trump says Joe Biden and the Democrats are making the violence worse. Who's right and who's wrong, Ethan Strimling?
Well, look, Biden gave an incredible speech in Pittsburgh a couple of days ago. And in that speech, he kind of really laid it at the feet of Trump to force Trump to answer the question, how can you as president claim that if you are elected president, you will stop the violence when you have failed to do that as the current president? And that is the question that Trump will have to answer, and that, of course, he can't, because he has not been able to deal with the violence. Trump wants to be Nixon 1968. He wants to run a law and order campaign. But what he doesn't understand about the fundamentals of politics are Nixon ran in 1968 in a law and order campaign against an incumbent party, right? That makes sense. I'm going to come in. I'm going to clean things up. I'm going to have the law and order that this country needs because violence is getting out of control. Well, Trump is the only guy in the mirror when you're looking at it saying, if you elect me president, I'll clean it up. Well, you are president right now, my friend, and you aren't cleaning it up. And there are a lot of folks out there who think that this violence is actually good for Trump in some ways. It's the worst thing in the world for him, which is why he is so desperate to try to change the subject or make it about Biden. So Biden is smart. It's clear that this is in Trump's lap. And until Trump is able to actually quell some of this disturbance in the country, it will continue to drag him down.
Phil Harriman, Trump or Biden, Biden or Trump?
Neither. And here's why. As Ethan knows, and I'm sure you as well, Mike, that the president of the United States can't go into a city and quell a protest unless the state or city leaders request it. And so what you find is these cities around America being run by progressive Democrats who feel as though the looting is just someone's way of, feeding their family. I think the American public is looking at it and going, back to your question about moving the needle towards the election. I think the president going to Wisconsin yesterday, which you didn't see much of, was was an outpouring of support for him there. But most especially what he was saying to the city is, hey, for you law-abiding citizens, I want you to know that I hear you. And I'm going to stand up for your property rights and your personal rights, and we've got to put an end to this. So as soon as these mayors in these cities start recognizing that their constituents aren't going to put up with this looting and burning and other mayhem, you're going to find that they're going to ask the federal government or the state National Guard to come in and put an end to these. These aren't protests. These aren't peaceful protests. These are rioters.
Well, I think when push comes to shove on Election Day and the soccer moms go out and remember the video that they've seen, the images they've seen, I think that's something that could come home for Donald Trump. Let's move on now. Speaker Pelosi, and this is just unbelievable that it's gotten to this. I'm shocked. Speaker Pelosi says that Joe Biden should not dignify Donald Trump with a debate. Now, we can get into the varying reasons for that. I have my thoughts on what the reasons are. Ethan Strimling, should these candidates debate, or, as the New York Times and Speaker Pelosi say, should we not have that and not dignify Donald Trump?
They should debate. I love me some Nancy Pelosi. She's always stirring it up, and I love, she framed this as, don't dignify this president. All he does is lie. I think she called it skullduggery. To have these, they're just, even as Phil was saying, the production value is all that matters to them, not the actual debate. And of course he should debate Trump because he'll crush Trump in a debate. I don't have any doubt about it. Remember back in the Democratic primary when it was just Bernie and Joe, and everybody thought Bernie was just going to mop up the stage, and Joe Biden crushed him. You got to remember. And I know you guys remember it. Joe's been doing this a long time. He is very practiced, and he knows how to debate. He knows how to do this work, and I want to see them both on the stage because I can't wait to see what Joe does.
Oh, I can't wait either. It should be fun, Phil Harriman.
Yeah, I do think they should debate, and if Nancy Pelosi is right, all the more reason why they should debate so the American public can see the contrast. And if he is unworthy or lacks dignity, that will come through and persuade voters. Be careful what you wish for, though, because Joe is not quite as sharp as he once was, and the ability to move fast pace and counterpoint it may show that Joe's not up for the task.
Look, people try to do this with Joe's convention speech too, and Joe's convention speech was great. And you can say, okay, it was off a teleprompter, fine. That's how they always are. But people thought he was going to be out there stumbling, mumbling, not able to read. And even Republicans were like, oops, we probably shouldn't have, lowered the expectations quite so much, because Joe knows what he's doing. So bring it on.
Yep, you know the thing. All right, let's keep moving. Let's keep moving here. Nancy Mills. I don't know where that came from. Oh, from the Pelosi thing. There is a Nancy Mills. Of course, she's married to Peter Mills, who, of course, is the head of the Maine Turnpike Authority. But Her Royal Highness Governor Janet Mills has apparently decided that high school football is not going to be played in the state of Maine. Originally, it was the Maine Principals Association that was told they were going to make the call. So they made the call last week. Now it's not them making the call. It's apparently Governor Mills, Lieutenant Governor Dr. Neerav Shah, Dr. Dora Ann Mills, Jean Lambrou, Pender Macon, Phil Harriman. What in the wide world of sports is going on here with the MPA in sports?
Yeah, I don't get this. They empowered them to make the decision. They did their due diligence and their safety and health protocols and determined that the students could participate. It's just amazing to me that you go through all of that only to have some higher authority say, whoops, never mind, we'll take this back from you. Meanwhile, you can cross over the Piscataqua River Bridge and then go to school in New Hampshire, and they're playing athletics. I don't get it. The statistics clearly show that people in that age bracket are practically next to zero from contracting the virus in a fashion that would jeopardize their lives. It's time to move on, folks.
I didn't think football and sports could become political, but I underthought myself there, because it definitely can. Ethan Strimling, do you think that the governor's making the right call here?
Look, there is clearly a communication issue here, and I don't fully understand how all this happened. You, as you said, empowering this group, although it does appear that the Maine Principals Association, they released their findings on this without a lot of time for people to give feedback, including the state. Now, I don't know whose fault that is, whether the state was involved early on, but the state does have guidelines, and MPA has to meet those guidelines. Even if they're making a decision about whether to move forward, the question is, you got to make the decision to move forward based on meeting the state guidelines in order to do it. And apparently they did not meet the state guidelines in some of their regulations. But for me, it's communication, because this is leaving parents, this is leaving kids in these positions where they think it's going to happen and then it's not, and then they think it is. That's not healthy. They should have figured this out a while ago, like other states have done. And then if circumstances change. But the communication is the problem. Hopefully today, the Maine Principal Association, the Mills administration will get together, come up with an answer, and move forward.
I wouldn't make book on that. All right, next up, let's talk about Senator Bill Cohen. We don't talk about him very much anymore because, frankly, he's pretty irrelevant, but he endorsed Joe Biden. So is that wave going to crest right into the White House for Joe Biden now, Ethan?
No, it won't for sure, but it helps a little bit. Look, Joe is doing very well in Maine. He's already up 10 to 15 points by most polls. That will, of course, tighten. But, Bill Cohen carries a little bit of weight. I think it's more important sort of nationally as another Republican coming out against Donald Trump, a moderate Republican who people respected, have worked on both sides of the aisle. I think it's more about that national audience than it is Maine itself.
Bill Harriman?
Yeah, I think Ethan's got that just about right. I don't think there's anyone in Maine who's going to say, oh, my God, my beloved Bill Cohen, who represented me in the Senate 20 years ago, is going to vote for his insider, friend, buddy, colleague, Joe Biden, so I'm going to change my vote. But I do think the national narrative, which will continue to grow, exponentially as the press reports on it, people react to it, and the campaigns use it, that, yep, here's just another Republican who is going to vote for the party, the other party.
Okay, let's. We have an addendum here this morning, and it's funny. Somebody texted me about this overnight and said President Trump agrees with Ethan Strimling on something. And yes, as it turns out, the president takes Strim's advice and implements an eviction moratorium. Phil, please explain this truthfully before I get the lies from Ethan.
Well, I think what the president is trying to do is to recognize that the unemployment checks are running out, and if people can't pay their rent, it's going to create another economic hardship for particularly hourly workers. So I think this is just another way that the president can use the executive order to be seen as protecting the workers who need just a helping hand to get through this virus.
Ethan, how did this happen?
Yeah, I'll give him some credit for this. This plus the, $300 in unemployment, at least the administration is recognizing that the fact that they did nothing back at the beginning of August is really going to have a terrible impact on a lot of families. And this eviction moratorium is a good thing. Now, of course, it's all inadequate in order to meet the challenge of what we have. All this eviction moratorium does is pile up debt on renters, and then 3 or 4 months from now they're all going to be put out on the street. So what has to happen is rental assistance has to get out there, and in order to help landlords pay their mortgages and all that kind of stuff, and we have to make sure that people have the unemployment benefits they need. But the eviction moratorium was important, and I'm actually very glad that the president put this in place. It's something that we've been asking a lot of states to do, governors around the country to do, cities, Portland to do, and haven't been able to do it. So, kudos to him. That's a good step. A lot more work to do in order to avoid the crisis.
All right, so 2 drops I'm going to be able to cull from this appearance today. First one is Phil is right. Second one is Trump did the right thing. Fellas, that's a good note to end on, don't you think? Ethan Strimling,
Yeah,
Phil Harriman.
Didn't you hear Phil at one point said Ethan is right? I agree with Ethan on this one. How come that never gets cut?
I must have accidentally edited that out. I'm sorry. Fellas, talk to you next week.
All right. All the best.
Agree to Disagree with Phil Harriman and Ethan Strimling can also be seen every week in the Bangor Daily News and on BangorDailyNews.com.
Road to the White House. Joe Biden hitting back against assertions by the president that Biden is controlled by left-wing extremists hiding in the dark shadows.
He just flat lies about virtually everything. Dark forces behind me. As I said yesterday, do I look like the guy who is in fact going to, this socialist, left-wing guy who is going to bring hatred to, come on.
Biden, in an interview with ABC News station WTVD, Raleigh, North Carolina, the president made his trip to Kenosha, Wisconsin, where police put 7 bullets into the back of Jacob Blake, deflecting when asked,
Do you believe systemic racism is a problem in this country?
Well, you just keep getting back to the opposite subject. We should talk about the kind of violence that we've seen in Portland and here.
The president's Homeland Security Department sent a warning letter to Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler that if nightly violence erupting out of racial justice demonstrations doesn't end, the federal government will be left with little choice. Richard Cantu, ABC News.
I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson with a news update on Legacy 1160 WSKW. Maine State Police are asking for your help tracking down a missing mother and daughter. They say 32-year-old Ashley Miller was last seen yesterday at noon on Tunk Lake Road in Sullivan. That's down east, not far from Mount Desert Island. Police say Miller had several medical conditions and her family is concerned for her and her 4-year-old daughter's safety. Police say Ashley is not in trouble, but they want to make sure they are both safe and that a statewide search is underway. Seafood industry in Maine could see a $20 million boost by the end of next month, according to Maine Public. The funds will be made available under the Federal CARES Act. Fishing license holders and also shellfish growers who qualify will get the same payment regardless of the size of the business. The Marine Resources Commissioner says state and federal officials are nearing a final agreement, and the money will go straight to individual seafood businesses in Maine. Maine CDC says it's reporting more outbreaks at colleges. They include Maine Maritime Academy and University of New England. Director of the CDC says there have been at least 3 confirmed cases at both institutions. Coronavirus cases have also been reported at the University of Maine, also University of Southern Maine, and University of Maine Law School. CDC is now warning people to avoid putting masks on your pets. Reports say pets are at low risk for contracting the coronavirus. CDC suggests keeping pets away from people who aren't in their home and, of course, from anyone who may be sick. In rare instances, there have been cases of dogs contracting coronavirus. Maine CDC is warning about a hepatitis A case at a Sacco Pizza restaurant. CDC says an employee who handled food at the Sacco House of Pizza was infected with hepatitis A. Maine CDC says restaurant customers and employees may be at risk for hepatitis A infection. They say anyone who worked out or ate food from the restaurant between August 18th and 21st should get a hepatitis A vaccine right away. Brunswick residents are no longer allowed to put glass containers in their recycling bins. Instead, they're being asked to put those containers with their regular household trash. Brunswick says this change doesn't impact returnable glass beverage containers that, under the main bottle bill, should still be brought to the redemption centers. Central Maine Power is now offering incentives for installing electric vehicle charging stations. The company's new program offers up to $4,000 toward the cost of installing faster Level 2 charging stations. High school sports in Maine could be delayed even longer. The Maine Principals Association voted last week on recommendations to allow all fall sports. Those recommendations include practice starting on September 8th, 1 week from today, with games starting as early as the 18th. CBS 13 asked DHHS about whether it would approve those recommendations. The commissioner says DHHS has concerns about that timetable. An old bridge on the Mid-Coast is causing some concerns about safety. This week, engineers are inspecting a bridge that connects Brunswick and Topsom. The Maine Department of Transportation says the bridge is in poor shape and plans to replace it with a new, nearly $20 million bridge. The Frank J. Wood Bridge was built in 1931. Sports, the Red Sox lose to the Braves. Final score 10-3. They play the Braves tonight at 7:30. NBA playoffs, the Celtics beat the Raptors 102-99. The Celtics have now won 6 straight playoff games. Boston leads the semifinals 2-0. Game 3 is tomorrow at 6:30. I'm CBS 13's Jeff Peterson on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Were you thinking of enrolling at Kennebec Valley Community College this fall, but now worry it's too late? Hi, I'm Nicole, a student in the mental health program at KVCC. And do I have some good news for you? KVCC has a Flex Start semester beginning September 21st that offers high-demand classes delivered in both hybrid and online formats. Flex Start offers students the opportunity to begin taking college classes without delaying another semester. New students can complete classes required in nearly every major, and students already attending can add a class to their fall schedule. At only $96 per credit, tuition at KVCC is the lowest in New England. Students who enroll during Flex Start are also eligible to apply for financial aid. Don't let the opportunity to attend KVCC pass you by. Flex Start classes begin September 21st. For more information, go to kvcc.me.edu or call 453-KVCC today.
Have you been looking at those undone projects around the house this summer? Hi, this is Ken from Mackenzie Landscaping, your landscape supply center. Stop by Mackenzie Landscaping and let one of our experienced staff guide you through your next outdoor project. Whether you're thinking about a walkway, patio, or retaining wall, we have a great selection of products to choose from. We carry Teco Block, Gagne & Son, Swenson Granite, Champlain Stone, along with other hardscape products. Have you lost a pet and been wanting to get a memorial made or an address engraved in a stone? Stop by and have Renee work with you to design your project. So whether you're near or far, a homeowner or a contractor, no delivery is too big or small. With our different size trucks, we'll dispatch the right truck size for your order. And if you're looking to have pallets delivered, we have a truck that brings your pallets with a forklift to place your pallets next to your job site. Shop smart, shop local, and shop at Mackenzie Landscaping. Visit us on the web at mackenzielandscaping.com.
I'm CBS 13 meteorologist Matt Honig. Mostly cloudy today with a few afternoon showers possible. Another cool day with highs mainly in the upper 60s and lower 70s. Tonight we'll keep the risk of scattered showers going, lows in the lower 60s. Tomorrow sunshine returns and it's much warmer with highs in the low 80s. We'll keep the warm trend going into Friday with sunshine and temperatures in the mid 80s.
Well, right now we got a ways to go. It is cloudy, 55 in Skowhegan, 57 in Waterville, cloudy skies, also 57 here in Augusta. You're up to date from Maine's Heritage Station, Legacy 1160 WSKW.
You think it? He says it.
Yada, yada, yada.
It's the Mike Violet Show on Legacy 1160 WSKW.
Good morning, it's 8:36. I'm Mike Violet. This is the Mike Violet Show on Legacy 1160 WSKW, all part of 6 hours of live local talk every weekday from 6 until noon. I'm here 6 to 9. John James and the John James Freedom Pep Rally coming up at 9 this morning. Dr. Garofalo is going to be on at 9:30. John's got that and a whole lot more. His Freedom Pep Rally begins at 9. It's here 9 to noon every day. Our show brought to you by Kennebec Electric and Lighting. Contact them for all your electric and lighting servicing, including expert installations and repairs. 861-7028. You can find them online at KennebecElectric.com. You can find us online by going to Legacy1160.com. Click on the Listen Live link. We are all audioed and videoed up right there, brought to you by the Harry J. Smith Company. Our Facebook Live feed brought to you by Moody's Collision Centers. Okay, of course, the big story here in Maine the last 24 hours has been the volley back and forth between the Maine Principals Association and several different departments of Maine government, including the Maine Department of Health and Human Services, about fall high school sports and its commissioner, Jean Lambrou. Here she is during the CDC briefing yesterday.
You know, we did suggest to the Maine Principals Association it might make sense to give it a little bit more time as schools are opening, as we try to resolve the concerns that we've given to them. But we're not the only ones. The Maine Superintendents Association, the Maine School Board Association similarly has questions of the sports guidance. So we're hoping with intense work and a little bit more time, we can come to some agreement.
Commissioner Lambrou, there isn't much left to get a fall sports season underway. The fall sports season would have been underway had the MPA guidelines and the recommendation been taken, but it is September 2nd. Joining us now, he's been covering the story from the get-go and writing about it very well. He is, of course, our friend Travis Lesarchik from the Central Maine Morning Sentinel and Kennebec Journal. Travis, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Mike. I'm just tired.
Yeah, I think
so tired.
I think we're all, this is exhausting. I mean, all that we've been going through here with the coronavirus and the protests and all that, it's tiring. This is tiring too. So did the MPA, with its recommendation to play sports, did they screw up here and not follow state guidelines, or just what happened here?
Well, the state certainly thinks so.
Yes.
They sent that, meandering letter yesterday to the MPA, just about the time the daily briefing was beginning.
Right.
We got a copy of it. And yeah, they feel like they've ignored some guidance on spacing fans was listed as one of them. Wearing masks on the sidelines was one of them, and playing things indoors like volleyball was one of them, just to name a few of the issues.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we're at now, where everyone who seems to have a final say on this doesn't want to make a final say, and so we're going to kick it back to the MPA to look at their recommendations again, and then probably has to get kicked back up the chain. And meanwhile, if September's rolling, we would have been starting next Tuesday, September 8th.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be very shocked if we're doing that.
Oh, I would be as well. We're joined by Travis Lesarchik, of course, usually with us on Friday, but with this continuing breaking news regarding the MPA and the several different arms here of the state agency, state agencies about whether to play fall sports, I thought it was a good idea to have Travis on. You use the word meandering. I think you used. You don't hear that very much. It's a really good word. Which I guess, does that mean that they were all over the place or didn't make sense? What does that mean?
It means it was just a very long, kind of all over the place, rambling letter.
Yeah. Why is it, and you may or may not know the answer to this, why is it that New Hampshire can do it and they are underway and we can't?
That's a question that you would have to ask the state leadership of Maine. I don't know.
Yeah. Coaches, a lot of them have opined on social media. A lot haven't, but we have coaches on Twitter. We have coaches on Facebook. Many of them have weighed in. One of the ones who's been the loudest, Kevin Cooper, Bonnie Eagle. I know B.L. Lippert from Coney, who's been a guest on this show before, has weighed in as he called it a massive blow. What are you hearing from coaches?
Yeah, they're all, particularly football coaches, are just done and trying to figure out what they can say to their teams who've been really already practicing together and following all the rules and doing this for a few weeks. Walter Polke, the head coach of Messalonskee, said, we're not stupid. We see this happening in other states. High school football was on ESPN all weekend. And these states where it's been happening for 2 or 3 weeks with a few outbreaks, we're not going to sugarcoat it. There have been a couple, but nothing so substantial as to shut down the entire operation. And they wonder, why can't we even try here? I think that's the biggest thing. Why can't they try?
Was there any reaction? Have you been able to get any yet from Mike Burnham, the head of the MPA?
My colleague Mike Lowe spoke to Mr. Burnham yesterday, and his response was simply, "We will continue to work with the state and take a look at everything."
I'm just wondering what the drop dead date is. What point do we get to where there's no return?
I don't know. You'd think it's coming up if you do want to try to have a postseason, and from these new rules, that looks like that's in jeopardy because you can't play out of your region in the state. So even if they were to say, "They're all right, we're going to do no playoffs this year to give everybody more time," daylight is gone probably by like the third week of September, or certainly at the beginning of October, where just schools with no lights and things are going to have to really work to get in all the games when you're talking varsity and junior varsity and everything. So, and then of course the weather and, starting mid-October to March is really
March.
tricky. So,
You're being generous and kind there.
yeah, probably all right. Let's say May.
Okay.
So we're looking at a small window to get going here.
Travis Lesargic with me, columnist, sports writer for the Morning Sentinel, Kennebec Journal. His story about this appeared in the Press Herald and probably the Sun Journal, I think, as well this morning, because obviously if it's not the top story in the state, it's one of the top stories in the state. A high school basketball coach said yesterday that the governor and the DHHS and the DOE had promised to leave the sports decision up to the MPA. The MPA said we could play, so why is it in the situation that it's in? Did anybody ask any of the people involved yesterday at the press briefing, whether it was Commissioner Lambrou, Commissioner Macon, or Dr. Shaw, why that decision-making process was removed from the MPA?
Well, I did get a chance to watch much of that because right when it was starting, I got the email with the letter, and I jumped right into this. I think it's been asked before. I think last week, Lambrou was asked, "Hey, what changed in the last week from making it to the MPA's decision to suddenly we want to, have another look?" My gut is that they didn't get an answer that they wanted, and they're getting a lot of pressure from the Superintendents Association, from school boards around the state that just don't want to be put in the position to make this decision. It's a tough decision. I get it, but we're getting a lot of leadership that just doesn't want to make it, from the local and state level. And that's not leadership at all.
No, it is not. And especially when we see what happened in New Hampshire. And Chris Sununu, the governor there, told the NHIAA, their version of the MPA, on July 3rd, go ahead, get a plan, let's do this. How come that didn't happen here? Any insight into that?
Again, you'd have to ask our state leaders. I know they've got a lot on their plates, but you'd think this is something that could have been made time for.
The prevailing thoughts of the coaches that you talk to, and I'm specifically focusing on football here right now, do they think that there will not be a season?
Yeah, and just not only is the football stuck in the high risk, and it is, when you're constantly touching and breathing on each other, it is high risk, but there doesn't seem to be a plan to allow it to come out of that category like soccer did. Soccer went from high risk to moderate.
Right.
And, with volleyball, too, there doesn't seem to be a plan that would allow them to play indoors. A lot of ADs say we just don't have space outside to play it. Fields are, field time's at a premium as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So those two sports are kind of left standing there going, what can we do? We want to know, what can we do to get this out there for the athletes, and nobody has an answer for that.
Is there any chance we're going to get a split where some sports are played and some sports are not?
I think so. I think, we'll see maybe golf and cross-country running, field hockey, soccer, but I wouldn't hold my breath on football or volleyball right now.
I don't know. Is there any legal recourse here for anybody involved, whether it's parents, kids? Can somebody bring this to court?
I mean, you could probably bring anything to court.
Yeah,
right?
I guess you can indict a ham sandwich. That's the old
saying.
saying.
I don't know the legalities of filing injunctions and anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure people who know more than me are talking about it.
You expect any news on the story at all today, one way or the other?
Not really.
Yeah.
No. I think right now the MPA's got to go back and sit with their committees and figure out what their next move is.
Is there if they do have football, there won't be any fans, huh? It would be fanless.
I would think so. Yeah. I mean, last week when I was talking to some ADs, the they were discussing already at the local level, all right, how many people can we have here? Is it 100? Is it 50? They were, a lot of schools were looking into streaming services so that fans could at least, go online and see games. But if there is football, I think little to no fans at the games.
Yeah, I mean, we're certainly available to go there and stream it on the radio, that's for sure. And I'm sure Rob Munzing and Munzing Media happy to go and put it on video and put it online.
And a lot of schools were talking about setting up in-house situations.
Yeah.
Where students and teachers do it. So.
Yeah, hey, it's certainly doable.
Yeah, whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, we're all willing to pitch in and help out here, but it's yesterday was really an extraordinary day on many fronts, and unfortunately, the news wasn't what I think all of us want it to be, and I'm not sure that the ensuing days are going to be any better. Travis, great job covering the story from the perspective of the Sentinel and the KJ and the Sun Journal and the Press Herald, and we appreciate your time this morning. We'll talk again Friday.
All right. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Thanks, Travis. Appreciate it. Travis Lasarczyk from the Sentinel and the Kennebec Journal. Unfortunately, Travis is right. I think high school football is dead on arrival. There is no way that it is going to happen. And that's really sad. And if you go on social media, again, you want to read from some of the people involved who coach. Kevin Cooper, the head coach at Bonnie Eagle, the son of Pete Cooper, the longtime coach at Lawrence High School. Kevin, of course, has done exactly at Bonnie Eagle what his father did at Lawrence, which is to build an incredible program, one that wins all the time, and they win literally almost every year. So he has a thread here of comments that I want to read from him because I don't think there's anybody more respected as a high school football coach and an educator. He's a teacher as well and comes from a family. His mother, Kevin's mother, actually was our senior class advisor, Lois Cooper, at Waterville High School in 1978. She's a lovely woman. Unfortunately, she left us way too soon. So Kevin comes from an education family. First tweet. So does the DOE and the DHHS want the MPA to hold off the start of sports, all sports? Why? Why is there a need to hold off low-risk sports like golf and cross-country where the state says they can be played? Practices in all sports are allowed. What does the MPA need to push the start? Travis Lasarczyk, he writes his article, the head of the MSME, which represents the superintendent and school board association, applauds the decision. Pretty obvious where the opposition lies. Less a political decision by the state than taking a bullet for others. Unfortunately, to those opposed to playing fall sports, what Dr. Hines said last week doesn't matter. You can argue COVID stats, but it doesn't matter. It's impossible to find any rationality about it. Case in point here, he has a picture of the Bonnie Eagle 7th grade team practicing last night. They're allowed to do so under community sports guidelines. If they were 2 years older, the DOE, DHHS superintendents wouldn't allow these athletes to be at practice. 7th graders and high school players will be in school next Tuesday. Case in point 2, the community sports guidelines roll back on the indoor hoops played all summer. Baseball was played with teams across different regions of the state all summer. Not anymore. Do we just ignore evidence of actually being able to do this? 6, I'm a football coach that is upset with the decision, but also one that has been steeling myself for this for a while. Fooling, I think, maybe. Imagine coaches in other sports played in the fall. Absolutely no reason to push back the start of those sports. They should be starting next Tuesday, period. And another high school football coach, a very well-respected one, Skip Capone, who coached at Lewiston, among other places. Coach, totally agree. Supers boards never wanted fall sports, not enough guts to stand up and say so. Waited for someone else to make the call. Evidence meant nothing to them. It's sad. Yeah, it is. It is really, really sad. This has become apolitical football. It's become the epitome of the lack of leadership. Texter says it's the same with masking kindergartners and not requiring masks for daycare centers. Yes, that's a good text. The kids are just being pushed by the wayside here. And I'll close or begin to close things out here by rereading something that a friend wrote and sent to me yesterday about how important this is to kids. Again, these are not my words. A friend wrote this, sent it to me, and I believe that she has channeled all of our thoughts here, whether we're kids, whether we're their parents, whether we're their family, their aunts, their uncles, their brothers, their sisters, and such, whether they're friends or fans. Here's what it says. It says, OMG, oh my God, it's just sports banned, etc. ? You'll be fine without it. It's for the greater good. What about the greater good of our children? For some, it's the only place the kids fit in. For some, it's also realizing you have a passion for something. For some, it's experiencing confidence for the first time because you're good at something. For some, it's the only place they feel accepted. For some, it's the hopes of furthering their education with possible scholarships. For some, it's another 2 to 3 hours away from a bad home life. For some, it's the camaraderie and team building that is so special to them. For some, it's belonging and feeling included even though they're not particularly good at. For some, it's the difference between passing and failing in school. For some, it's the difference between making bad choices that can affect them the rest of their lives or staying on the straight and narrow. For some, it's the mental clarity and the natural dopamine they get from a close game. For some, it's the only outlet they have. So yeah, it's just sports, band, drama, etc. And it's so much more to so many kids. It sure is. It really, really is. And this has become a political issue. It is definitely one that is Democrat and Republican. Somebody else also texted me and said, at least when the curve of suicides, drug abuse, highway deaths, and criminal mischief among high school kids in Maine rises exponentially in the next 6 to 12 months, and it will, you'll know whom to blame it on. Another person chimed in on my Facebook page, a coach. I'm very concerned about the behaviors our kids will engage in without football. The elephant in the room, ? A lot of 15 to 18-year-old boys don't like school. They don't like sitting down. They don't like taking notes. They don't like taking tests. This is from a teacher and a coach. Football is the greatest carrot a teacher could ever have. I have dozens of teachers who use it with my players throughout the year to influence their behavior. It's what we have to do. Without that, the list of items you just provided scares me tremendously. That's from an educator who comes from a family of educators and coaches. They know their kids. Believe me, they know their kids. These aren't politicians. This isn't Janet Mills. This isn't Jean Lambrou. At least Macon was a superintendent, I think. Was she a superintendent down in Brunswick? At least she was in education, probably has half a clue about the classrooms and about sports. Dr. Shaw, I hear, was on the radio somewhere this morning, maybe down in Portland, I don't know. He said something to the effect of, we really need to see how we do school before we do school sports. So you can see that he's in on the decision. And I mentioned last week, when it became apparent that the MPA was not going to have the final call on this, that it was the governor, Governor Mills, the lieutenant governor, I know we don't have one, but we do, Dr. Shaw, and the DHHS, Jean Lambrou, and Pender Macon from the Department of Education. They were going to be in on it. And it is a political decision because, as we've seen in New Hampshire, live free or die state, where they give some value to liberties. They're going to play football there. They're going to play all the other sports there, too. Here we are, literally over the bridge. And it's interesting that the areas that are or have had more of an outbreak here in Maine are those closest to New Hampshire, in York and Cumberland counties. They're doing it down there, not us here. A sad state of affairs. We'll keep our eyes on the story all day today. And obviously tomorrow, have any newsmaker on that we need to have on in order to continue to keep you as informed as possible. John James and his Freedom Pep Rally up next. Enjoy the day. I'll see you back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 6.
ABC Entertainment News.
I like to move it.
Superstar DJ Eric Murillo, best known for his 1994 hit I Like to Move It, has been found dead at his home in Miami. The 49-year-old's death comes after he was arrested on sexual assault charges last month and was scheduled for a court hearing Friday. He had denied the charges. Police say the death is under investigation, but there were no signs of foul play. The ABC sitcom Blackish isn't expected to return until later this year, but producers will put out a pair of topical episodes early, and both will focus on the upcoming presidential election. The hour-long special will air October 4th, and one of the episodes will be animated. Former Talking Heads frontman David Byrne apologizing for appearing in blackface in a recently resurfaced promotional video from 1984. In a statement on social media, Byrne says he made a major mistake in judgment that showed a lack of real understanding, and he believes he's changed since then. Party on, dude! And Bill and Ted star Keanu Reeves, probably partying today. It's his birthday. He's 56. Jason Nathanson, ABC News, Hollywood.
Maine Voter Information Hotline, can I help you?
Yes, I'm calling about those ads running for Susan Collins, you know, the ones attacking Sarah Gideon.
Yes, ma'am. We've been getting a lot of calls about those.
Huh. Well, are they true? Like what they say about Sarah Gideon and taxes?
Well, it says here newspapers have been speaking out about those. The Portland Press Herald said the ads were largely out of context, and the Bangor Daily News said the ad misleads on Gideon's record of paying taxes.
Interesting. But is it true that Gideon raised taxes in Augusta?
No, ma'am. Says here Sarah Gideon helped lower taxes for the middle class, including sponsoring the first direct property tax relief bill to pass in many years.
I told Bert I remembered that. I should get him to call you.
I'll leave that to you, ma'am. We are pretty busy these days.
I can only imagine. Good luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Sarah Gideon, running for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Sarah Gideon from Maine.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Center.
If your car is a wreck and you don't know where to go,
take it to Moody's.
You wanna get on with your life, get on with the show.
Take it to Moody's.
Good people you can trust and it won't be a fuss.
Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
MOODY. Your kid was talking on the cell phone, drove right through your own home, sitting in the parking lot. Maybe you get hit a lot, driving through the green light. Suddenly your side swipe, put it in reverse, but it turned out that it was first.
Take it to Moody's. Take it to Moody's Collision Centers.
From the Home Auto Group Studios, Farmington Ford and Franklin Chrysler in Farmington. This is WSKW, Skowhegan, Augusta, Waterville, Legacy 1160.
ABC News, I'm Inez de la Quatera. ABC News has obtained a new bulletin that intelligence officials wrote back in July. It was intended to alert law enforcement officials about a Russian attempt to portray Joe Biden as mentally unfit to be president. However, the Department of Homeland Security never sent it out. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
As evidence, the bulletin cites stories by Russian-controlled news outlets from September 2019 until May of this year, claiming without evidence that Joe Biden's, quote, verbal miscues are symptoms of dementia.
DHS officials say they decided to delay release of the memo until further review. Facebook and Twitter have removed accounts linked to a Russian bot farm suspected of once again trying to interfere in the presidential election. Dr. Anthony Fauci urging Americans not to let Labor Day activities ruin the progress made fighting COVID-19. He says there were spikes after Memorial Day and the 4th of July, and the country needs to prevent that. This is ABC News. A vote on one issue before state lawmakers in California, housing, suddenly shining a light on another.
Buffy Wicks, a San Francisco area assemblywoman, rushed to the floor of the State House in Sacramento with her newborn baby in tow just to vote on a state bill on residential zoning.
So please pass this bill, and I'm going to go finish feeding my daughter.
The video of her holding her 1-month-old Ellie at the podium going viral. She says she asked to cast her vote by proxy due to the pandemic, but was denied because the House rules don't include maternity leave. Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon apologized to Wicks, saying his intention was never to be inconsiderate toward her role as a legislator, or her role as a mother. Derek Dennis, ABC News.
A task force in Washington, D.C. is now recommending changes to monuments whose namesakes were involved in slavery. That would include the Memorial or the Washington Monument. But the suggestion's almost certain to go nowhere soon because most of the monuments are on federal land. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC.
Aye. Okay, I just making sure we're on the Facebook here. Doctor's going to be on at 9:30. I'm gonna stop this video. We'll restart the video, which we do every morning. But we've got Dr. Garofalo on at 9:30, and there is a post not on this video, but there is a post on my page, and it says, any questions you want to ask, you can post here. So post them with that particular post where it says Dr. John Garofalo, blah, blah, blah. Post any queries you have here, and we will ask them. I know we've got at least a couple of them now, and if you have any more, you can also text them to us too, by the way. 207-441-6969. There you have it. Okay, we're on the air. Pep Rally for Freedom coming right up. Thank you for being here, and please share the good word, share the freedom, share the show. Mike 6 to 9. I'm on 9 to noon. We have 2 separate videos. You can also watch it over at legacy1160.com if you wish to. All right, see you back here in a few.